Today, we are less than 1 week away from the Switch to Nintendo Direct, and we're going to be talking about the 10 questions Nintendo has to answer.
Must answer.
Must.
No choice but to answer.
Yes, they have to do it. They have no choice. They have to answer these questions in this Direct, or else. Or else what?
You don't want to know.
Mad. Very mad.
I'm here to inform people that this is the last episode of the Kit and Krysta podcast that will happen until we know all about the Switch 2.
I was like, is this some sort of news that I'm getting for like
breaking news?
Breaking news.
News flash. I'm out.
Oh.
No. The podcast will continue.
Yes. Wow.
And
dramatic.
Again, I'm saying by this time next week, we will know hopefully everything if they answer these questions.
If they answer these very important
they've been
questions.
cagey, they've been dodgy up until now, but they can no longer, so we're going to go through the things that they simply must say. In just a moment, we're back from a very busy week at GDC. That's the Game Developers Conference, if you didn't know.
That's fun.
It's in our backyard. It's in San Francisco. You did some actual conferencing, which we honestly normally don't do.
Honestly, because GDC is really for developers. I am not a game developer, so I feel like those sessions are better for people that are actually making games. Although it is really interesting, and when we were with Nintendo, a lot of times the developers would come out to do big GDC talks. You did one with the Zelda devs when Breath of the Wild came out. And
those were marketing
presentations. That's what I'm saying. It's actually, from that perspective, it was like build as a developer talk, but really it was marketing for Breath of the Wild.
Buy the game.
Buy the game. Yes, exactly. So it's kind of a weird mix, those talks and the show in general around like, is this marketing? Is this actually teaching? Is it a little both? Is it weird? Is it not? But I haven't been inside GDC for quite a long time, like at least 5+ years.
Did you hear the show floor scuttlebutt? We'll be talking a little bit about that in the news.
Yeah.
Whispers.
The whispers on the show floor?
Secrets.
Oh, the secrets on the show floor.
Did you hear some secrets?
No.
What?
You
texted me, you were like, you won't believe what I heard in line for this Infinity Nikki panel. I was like, oh yes, here we go. And then I came to found you, you're like, it was really crowded. That's boring. I don't care about that.
The show floor was a little sad.
Yeah.
It was definitely like, a lot of kind of middleware type companies that were there. Maybe it's interesting for people that are, again, making games. Maybe these kinds of, solutions or things that they were showing is like helpful and useful. But it looked weird to me. It looked very like hodgepodge. I went to go see a talk about Infinity Nikki, which was actually really cool because the person that was giving the talk was a developer that used to work at Nintendo and worked on Breath of the Wild, Tomonaga-san. And it was great to see him bring like the Nintendo developer philosophy into a different game, a different kind of game, a different kind of team. He had very unique challenges of being a Japanese speaker and working with an all-Chinese team, working remotely with a team in Shanghai, and like really, how do you communicate your vision? How do you communicate to this completely different group of people? And in all respects, he was saying like, not only do we have language barrier, we have this huge age gap. He was like, some of these young developers were like young enough for me to be...
These Gen Z kids.
Yes, it was like, I could be this person's dad. And it was like awkward and weird, you know? So it was really, really cute, honestly. But as I was listening to that talk, I just had this like feeling. I was like, wow, he really truly is like a Nintendo dev.
Yeah.
Like he was trained in the Nintendo school of game development. It's kind of like when you work at the company for so long. Like I see this in us too, where you've like sort of, absorbed the DNA of the company. And I definitely think that he's done that, and he's, tried to bring some of that into Infinity Nikki. But it was really cool. It was a cool thing to be able to be a part of that talk and see him speak.
Well, it's great, but it's truly in our rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Because we are locked in on the Switch 2. And strangely, as of now, we find ourselves in this Nintendo Direct purgatory. Not the Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. People are saying, oh, wait, there might be one this week.
So this is Tuesday that we're recording this podcast.
So we're saying, if if there is one, we're not talking about it here because it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But we will have a separate reaction if it happened. If not, then let's just continue on with our day and pretend there was nothing about it. Very strange, though.
Wild stuff.
You're seeing cracks in the facade of Nintendo if this happens.
My immediate reaction to this, as the leaks are coming out saying there might be some kind of Switch 1 Direct, there might be some kind of Switch 1 announcement, my immediate reaction is, uh-oh. The transition is getting to them.
Unforced errors are starting to surface.
Yes, and this you made a great reference this morning. Back in the E3 days, there was this thing that Nintendo used to do that we used to be a part of. It was awful, called the War Room, which is basically
because we weren't selling video games. It was a life and death war.
Life and death. Yeah,
your life was on the line.
I'm throwing my human body on top of the shrapnel that is, Smash Ultimate.
The console wars.
Yeah,
yes.
I was just throwing myself into that sacrifice will be made. But they used to call it the War Room, and it was a bad vibe in the War Room.
Real bad.
You kind of want to avoid the War Room because if you go into the War Room, you are just overcome with the waves and waves and waves of panic. And what happens is that you've become an echo chamber of your own making, where you're surrounded by people that are panicking. And then it makes you panic, and then you make them panic, and then they make you panic. And so you're in this cycle together.
These people don't leave the room, is the thing. They're trapped in that room. Yeah. They don't actually see what's happening on the outside. And right now, there's probably a very small group of people who know what's actually happening with this Nintendo Direct, and they're probably overthinking things. They're seeing things online. They're freaking out about things that maybe they don't need to. So it's very easy to see a scenario where they have overthought this into some galaxy brain strategy of we need a phase 1 of this, and then it's going to be part 1A to lead into this, and then that's going to have the best reaction.
Yes, exactly. And then there's going to be some echo chamber of on my personal Twitter feed, the fans are saying this. On my personal Twitter feed of 600 people, the fans are saying this. So we must react. We must have some sort of solution to a problem that has not happened. And this is exactly what happens when they're in these kind of high pressure cooker transitional moments. And this is a big moment for them to show us what you got with Switch 2. People have very high expectations. Now they're just really talking them into things. And so, my first reaction when I heard about the potential 1-2 punch of a, Switch 1 Direct followed by, the Switch 2 stuff that we already knew about, I was like, oh, the war rooms have closed their doors and the panic is setting in. Oh no.
So we'll see. Again, if it happened, check out our reaction. We'll be talking about it elsewhere, just not here.
Wow.
We're focused on the Switch 2 here.
We really are.
A great way to not get bunker cabin fever is to touch grass.
Yeah,
and a great way to touch grass is to go outside and film a vlog, which is what we've done.
Yes.
Recapping our March, where we did some retro game shopping, where we were at GDC, we celebrated my birthday, all sorts of fun stuff. That's coming up on the channel soon. We also have our highly anticipated Castlevania Symphony of the Night spoiler cast.
Talk for 2 hours.
Somehow we talked about this game for 2 hours.
It was so fun.
I had some fun stories about working on Castlevania.
You did some really deep cut stories about Iga.
Possibly some information that hasn't been surfaced about Castlevania before.
I learned a lot. I was surprised.
I don't know. So that will be out. Both of those pieces will be out soon. As always, the spoiler casts are exclusive on Patreon, so you can join and check those out or get them in the Patreon shop.
Yes, it's exciting. A lot of stuff going on. Busy.
It's just going to get more busy. And then we got other videos that are out about Switch 2 things.
Yes.
Who can even keep track of how many things we're posting right now? Just check out the channel.
There's a lot going on.
All right, enough of that. That's enough of that.
Oh.
As the hot Pokemon COO says.
Yes.
As he wipes his hands of mobile game slop. That's enough of that. Let's get into our Switch 2 questions that Nintendo simply must answer. But first, we have a wonderful sponsor, Factor. This episode is sponsored by Factor. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2 meals so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. I feel like sometimes we bury the lead on Factor. This stuff tastes good.
Yes.
Let's not overlook that.
The most important,
I like to eat it.
Yeah, the most important thing about any of this kind of meal service, whether it's a Factor or the smoothies they give you or the breakfast, the grab-and-go snacks, all the stuff that you get with Factor, every single thing tastes good. And you want to eat it. You do.
That's right. And there are over 40 options that are broken up in these cool kind of dietary preferences. And it's like, well, I'm trying to do, a keto diet. So what does that mean? Is eligible for me? I don't want to read the list of ingredients and try and come. It's like, no, they've got it broken out by there. And then, just a huge variety of things. And, I think we appreciate good food. Sometimes we cook for ourselves. Sometimes we like to go out. Sometimes you just can't. Like right now we have so many videos in the pipeline. It's like you're just trapped at your computer editing. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm doing something else. But
you're going out for like a lobster dinner and I'm trapped editing. Great.
Yes, but the stuff tastes super good and it's broken out. And like you said, they have all these other little side things that you can get.
I love the side things.
I really like the juices.
Yeah, the juices
I've
are
become
really good.
a real fan of the juices.
Yeah, they're really, really good. And the smoothies are really good too. And that's an easy thing to grab and go for sure if you're like in a rush.
Totally.
And, doing any of these dietary things, like doing keto on your own, I've tried this. It's really hard.
Oh.
Like you would be so shocked at how many things are not keto that you think are keto. And then you can fall out of ketosis like so quickly.
Fall out of ketosis?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
You don't, because it ruins your whole entire thing.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds like you really don't want to do it.
It will literally ruin all the effort if you eat like one wrong thing and you basically like lose that, like your momentum. So having it just like done for you is so nice. Like you don't have to measure, you just eat it.
The ketosis must be preserved at all costs.
It must be.
Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/KitAndKrysta50off and use code KitAndKrysta50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code KitAndKrysta50off at factormeals.com/KitAndKrysta50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
Big discount. We'll put the link here and also the QR code and in the description below.
Yes.
All right, questions for Nintendo.
All right. It says 10 questions. We actually have 12 questions. We lied.
Bonus.
There's a dozen. It's up to this point, they have been able to get by being a little bit cute, a little bit cagey. They did in January the initial announcement that yes, this is what it is. Kind of a
very short,
kind of a wink and a nod of some, here it is. Oh, is that Joy-Con a mouse? I don't know. It looks like one.
We took the C out of that button.
We photoshopped the C off of a button. The secret is preserved forever.
Yes, exactly.
They have been doing that in the face of all sorts of leaks, and leaks have kind of been continuing on, but there's still so much about this thing that we don't know.
Yeah.
We should say, this is not our predictions
for
the Switch 2. That's going to be a separate video that's going to be going up soon. But this is just us kind of looking at, like, what do they really need to talk about? From my perspective, like, I see this as, like, everything has to be on the table. Like, you can no longer be cute and cagey.
Well, you shouldn't be. They might, again, in the war room situation that they're in, talk themselves into some crazy random mindset of things to do. But if they were smart... and they want this to be successful, I think these are the questions they can no longer avoid and need to very clearly communicate this to everyone, to people, so that they can make a purchase decision as to whether or not to buy this thing. I think that, they can get a little cute with the way that they do things. And they can get in their heads about like, oh, we're Nintendo. We don't have to tell you anything. You'll buy it anyway. But I don't think they have the luxury with this launch. And I think they do need to very clearly communicate these things so that people can make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First thing is, what makes this different? This being the Switch 2. What makes that different from the original Switch? I think coming out of the January reveal, most people were very happy with that and said, well, I like the Switch. I'm glad to continue on with this form factor and such. But when we start to get down to the question of like, oh, am I going to pre-order this right now or not? Like, you need to have no shadow of a doubt of like, yes, this is clearly an upgrade. This is clearly a big step in a new direction, and I want to get on this right now.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if this is going to be, expensive. It's probably going to be pretty expensive. You're going to need to be able to make a justified decision in your head. Like, yes, I want to upgrade. I want to pay for this. I want to pay extra for this.
Right.
Because it's going to do something that my original Switch is not doing. And this could be a different, this checkbox could be different for everybody.
Right.
But they need to give us the list of differences, basically, as to what makes this better, cooler, next gen, future hardware, like all those things. They need to give us like a 20 list checkbox of, okay, on this list, at least one of these things or 2, 3 of these things appeal to me, and that's going to make me upgrade.
Right.
So yeah, we really haven't seen that definitively from them yet.
So that's kind of an obvious thing. It's like, yeah, no duh. But again, like they haven't done it to this point, and I think that's just kind of one of the basic overall things.
Yeah.
Looking at this list again, we have 12 things. That's a lot. That's a lot of things for them to address, and like we don't even have any individual games really here. Right. So it's like this is going to be such a information dense
hopefully
piece of media that they're going to give us, and that's a hard thing to do. If people who have like written scripts for that or thought about like how to space all that information, it's hard to do in a way that people can understand. Most people can't. I mean, it's hard it's hard to remember like every detail of something. Like most people come away with like a couple takeaways where it's like, oh, you need to remember these 15 things. It's like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. We were a few episodes ago, we were here with our good friend Joe, who worked and produced and worked closely with the team making Nintendo Directs, and talked about the challenges of doing this. And this is going to be their most challenging, I think, Nintendo Direct to date, where they do have to not only communicate just a massive volume of information, but they have to pace it in a way where it feels interesting and exciting. They have to keep your attention. They have to start and end, like we were saying, with big heavy hitters. Maybe those are games. Maybe those are details about the system. They really need to like work really hard to be able to do all those things. So yeah, we'll see if they rise to the challenge. But that's a very difficult thing to do.
Yes. Number 2 is the price and the launch date. That's actually 2 things in one, and people have kind of come to assume a few things about this already. They assume that this is launching sooner than later, probably in the early summer time frame. There's a few different dates that people keep throwing out there.
May 15th?
Starting at May 15th and going into the summer.
Let me roll my eyes at May 15th
once again. And then in terms of price, it seems like kind of the 400-ish range is something that I see people expecting it to be at.
Right.
But we don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
It could be any number of different things. So they, again to that point of, I'm in a position to make a decision right now about, do I want to jump on this? Do I want to pre-order this? Like that is kind of the key information that you need to get going there.
Yeah, and from a price perspective, there is a limit to, I think, people's comfort level, especially with a Nintendo console. And Nintendo knows this, and obviously, we've talked about this a bit, is that they want to make sure that their stuff is like accessible to a big, wide range of people. So, this could have a lot of implications. The way they announce this, the actual details around price and date can have a lot of implications into the rest of their strategy on this launch. If for example, if they feel like they can't get the price down enough to what they think people are comfortable with, what are they going to do? How are they going to justify that higher price? If the launch date is much later than people have anticipated, what are they going to do? What are they going to do to keep people's interest for that long? So there's so many different ways that these two things combined can play out to really change someone's decision making, change someone's opinion of whether or not, yes, I'm pre-ordering, I'm buying this day one. All those things can come into play.
Yeah, and these 2 things are probably coming into clarity for them at different points. I think the date they've probably had settled on for a good while, and you've heard stories of like, oh, the systems are starting to roll into the United States and in warehouses. So they've probably been planning for the date for a good long while. The price, though, is something that, as we understand it, being there, is like the strategy was always wait as long as you can to decide on the price. And I think that's especially true here where, prices of components can change or fluctuate. There's also all this debate over, is there going to be a tariff that's going to raise the price of whatever by X amount? So there are a lot of reasons to take it as far as you can to make sure, I want to make sure that I'm not all of a sudden losing a ton of money on these things. I want to make sure that the price that I'm putting out there actually matches the economics of what it takes me to actually get it made and get it on the shelf. So that's always kind of I hope this is the right time for us to say this because in a week or a month, maybe it won't be.
Lots of outside factors in play, especially this time around with just the economic and,
geopolitics.
Yes, thank you. The geopolitical climate. I didn't think I would say those words.
That's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, the geopolitical climate. Yeah, it's a very interesting time with a lot of external factors that they have to deal with, and that's tough, Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
So the next point kind of dovetails off of that,
yes.
and this is one of the big kind of scary things that people, ourselves included, are especially antsy about.
Nervous.
Which is how exactly do I pre-order?
Right.
How am I going to get this thing, assuming I'm not going to be able to just walk into a store on day one and get one?
Right.
How is this process going to work? Are you taking any learnings from the launches you have done in the past? Have you just been watching broadly the state of high-scale retail launches? Are you watching people have fights in a parking lot of a Costco to get a Pokemon card? How is all of this factoring into what you, Nintendo, are doing about pre-orders for the Switch 2?
And they have made comments around this. We see the situation with scalpers. We see the situation with, this kind. They have made comments about it, but whether or not they're going to take any action, whether or not they have a plan, a process, they've thought about it, it remains to be seen, right? You could say some stuff. You can make a passing reference to acknowledging a situation, but whether or not you're going to do something to help is a big question mark. And they notoriously, have not had the best track record with this. We also know that there are just some things that you cannot control once you give your allocation of hardware, as we learned from our good friend Sean. Once you give up your allocation to these retailers, you can try to influence, but you are no longer in charge. And these retailers can do whatever they want. GameStop can say 2 per person, like they did with Pokemon cards, and then cause a riot if they wanted to, right? Nintendo does not have control over that. So, they have been experimenting a little bit. We were wondering if, something around a Nintendo account might come into play here for pre-orders. We've seen that with Alarmo as maybe a potential. Are they testing something here? So there's a lot of options up in the air. And another thing that we were saying is that this is the first time Nintendo does have their own online store. They also have some more physical stores around the world. Those are very limited, but they do have a bit more of that. Like, we own these.
Yes, that whole channel,
these
the
channels,
My Nintendo store, did not exist
in the Switch 1 era
when the original Switch released. So that is a major new thing for them to utilize here.
And will they utilize it, and how, and are they going to be smart about it?
Just a week ago, I was unable to pre-order a physical copy of Xenoblade.
Yeah.
So that was, and I was like, why did they do that? And I was like, are they worried about leaks? Like, if somebody gets a copy of Xenoblade a day early, then the person in the shop's going to be accountable, and we don't want to deal with that, so just don't pre-order it at all. Let the Targets and GameStops and Best Buys of the world deal with that.
Wow, that's some big brain stuff.
I was like, why can't I? Come on, you have the ability to end this problem.
Right, and then when you
can end world hunger and pre-order pain for fans of video games around the world. Yes,
please stop the climate change, stop the world hunger. You also noted that when you went into the retailer, you went to a Target.
That was a mess. Yeah.
And it was a mess.
Forget it.
So that's the thing. Nintendo doesn't have control over that experience anymore. Once it is in a Target and you walk into a Target, it's not their problem anymore. So what's going to happen with this? We don't know.
This is also an interesting consideration with the Direct, they're going to have different versions by market. So I'm really interested is this something they even talk about at all in the Direct, or is this like a tweet that happens, 5 minutes later, where because
by region.
Every region's probably going to do this very differently. They may have different times where things go live. So I don't know, are they going to bake it in to the direct, or it's, you know, stay tuned today for the.
They might do that.
And at that point, it just gets like, wait, now I need. It just gets a bit more cascading complications.
Yeah.
Again, in this wave of information that everybody's getting.
This is something people are interested in and keeping an eye out for, though.
Desperately interested.
Exactly. So I think that is good if they do have information to share about this for your specific region.
Right.
They can bank on people wanting to pay attention to this detail at least, if they want to get this thing, right?
Preemptive freak out right now.
Preemptively freaking out. Good. Maybe you should take a deep breath in the corner.
Next, what is the launch lineup? We need to know.
We do need to know.
I do think that we'll probably see a pretty wide range of games in this direct, and they're not all going to be out on day one. But again, what is the collection of, I don't know, 15 to 20 games that are going to be available on day one that's going to kind of carry this first year?
Right, and Nintendo learned, and we were there when this happened, the importance of the launch lineup, and then of course the importance of, you know, having just like a constant flow of stuff, and especially in that first year, like every month you had like, you know, 1 to 2 really big games, and that really sustained people's interest, very importantly, in that first year for a new system. So they know this. So I'm very hopeful that they really come out swinging here with some big things that people want to see. I mean, Switch 1 launched with Breath of the Wild, potentially one of the biggest and most amazing launch games like ever for them. So yeah, I'm interested to see how they top that, really.
Something to keep an eye on is the first party launch lineups for the last several pieces of hardware. They've not been an overwhelmingly large number of games. Like on the Switch, there were like 3 games.
Yeah.
It was Zelda Snipper Clips
and 1-2 Switch.
1-2 Switch.
Yes.
And like on the 3DS, it was, the 3DS launch lineup was very, very weak. But it was not like, here's 6 first-party games.
Right.
It's a couple very strategically chosen games. They don't want to cannibalize. You know, the people are going to be getting up a few things, but it's like there's only so much that you can play at a time. There's value in spreading things out, and giving people reasons to keep playing and coming back when they've finished a game. So I think that's just kind of an expectation thing of like, don't expect everything to hit on day one.
Yeah.
Like if you are thinking the new Mario Kart and the new 3D Mario are going to be on day one in the launch lineup,
might be disappointed.
That's not a good strategic thing for them to do.
Yeah.
So they're going to spread things out a little bit.
And this is where they're going to become very reliant on indie developers, third party, because they're going to look to them, which they did in the Switch launch lineup, to really like build out that day one launch titles into a 15, 20 game library. And then you feel as the person that's buying the thing, like, great, on day one, I got plenty of things to play, lots of options. It feels very robust. Feels like we're getting ourselves set up for a wonderful, robust, deep Switch 2 library. Like, that's the feeling that they want to give you with that launch lineup. So it's gonna be a mix. I think that they're gonna be heavily, heavily reliant on third party to help them get to that place in the launch lineup.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Next, what have the internal Nintendo teams been up to for the past few years?
Panicking in the war room? Just kidding.
So, it's kind of been acknowledged that after, I guess, Tears of the Kingdom, a lot of those like big first-party teams have not really been making games for the original Switch. It's been kind of, a lot of these contract jobs on first-party things, smaller titles that we've been getting for the last couple years since then. And I think the expectation is, those teams have been shifting their focus to the Switch 2 and gearing up and working on games for the Switch 2. So it's going to be, hopefully, this big explosion of like, here's all of the like top teams at Nintendo. Here's what the output is. Here's what they've been doing.
Yeah, exactly. This is like the most high tier AAA first party teams, like the 3D Zelda team, the Animal Crossing team, the 3D Mario team. Like those are the teams of people, the Mario Kart team, that are basically have probably 2 years ago have really, shifted over to putting all of their resources and energy into the Switch 2, launch year or launch window lineup. So yeah, I expected that we'll get a big update on the teams that very well, like the Aonumas and Koizumis of the world, are hopefully going to come out with some updates on some games that they've been working on for the past 2+ years for Switch 2, because they've been pretty quiet, doing just cooking over there.
It just feels like we've been in a bit of a holding pattern for the past, I don't know, year and a half.
Yeah.
So I think, if they do deliver on that, that's going to be just like a big burst of excitement, because just kind of haven't had that outside of, I guess, the last June Nintendo Direct had some good surprises, and we saw Metroid Prime 4. It's like, oh yes, this is kind of the old, just one unexpected announcement to the next. We just haven't had that much.
Right.
And I think they can really just get a huge boost of excitement and goodwill if they can just go boom, 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 boom. We're like, oh my gosh, Nintendo's back.
And these we need, obviously, because they've been so focused, these teams have been so focused on making new games. We in the last year have been getting a lot of remakes, a lot of remasters, a lot of ports and things like that. Like we want to see some
simply seeing an original game.
I was just gonna say, simply
something
seeing
exciting.
An original game in of one of Nintendo's like storied franchises would be great.
But also the new IP possibilities from an established team.
I love it.
That's where we saw ARMS.
Love it.
Last
legs.
time.
Give us legs.
I think that'll be an interesting thing to get a glance of, like, how much are they balancing old versus new, or kind of being a little bit risky versus going to the well again. That's kind of a subplot of all of this too, to see.
Exactly.
Next is another big one that people have really had circled on their list, which is what is the Switch 2 capable of from a graphics standpoint?
Yeah.
So they will never just come out and say, oh, we're using this chip and it's this many blah blah, and that's not their style. But I think that we'll just be able to see from the games running, see from what types of third-party games are there, are capable of running on the Switch 2. I think it's very interesting to see right now there's some really big third-party games that are up and running on the Steam Deck, kind of like Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, I watched a video of that got Steam Deck verified a while back, and I was like, oh, that's going to be rough. But I watched a video, I was amazed.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a team that's like working and focused on a solid spec like the Steam Deck, like they can really do some amazing things. So I think it'll be a good test right from the start with this Direct of what's under the hood here.
Yeah. And obviously the digital foundries of the world will pick it apart and basically, siphon every bit of information on specs out of it. But yeah, this is a curious thing. I mean, it definitely is one of those things where you care, but you also don't care. Like, obviously,
some people really care.
Well, some people really care. Obviously, the first-party Nintendo games we know and have high confidence will look and run great. It's the third-party stuff. It's the stuff that makes us feel future-proof. It's the stuff that, makes you feel like, okay, I am getting like a next-gen system, where this conversation comes into play a lot. I would love to play my favorite, PS5 games on a Switch 2. If I would love to play Baldur's Gate on a Switch 2. I'd love to play Elden Ring on a Switch 2.
Maybe you'll be doing that soon.
Maybe I'll be doing that soon, and that would be amazing. That would be really cool. So I think that is one of those things where it's like, yes, some people really, really care about this. But it is like a checkbox in the column of this is a future next-gen system where this conversation becomes more important, even if you don't really care from a graphics perspective.
It does also kind of signal, like, again, into the future where this is, if you benchmark it against Sony and Microsoft, it is mid-generation for them. And it's that same thing that the Switch was in, where it's like, okay, well, when you were trying to convert PS4 and Xbox One games to the Switch, that was generally okay, and a lot of those could come over. But once we started into the PS5 and the Xbox Series generation, it got a lot harder. And that kind of pipeline of big third-party games started to slow down. So it's like, how future-proof are we talking? Because, again, probably midway into the Switch 2 life cycle, might have another transition for Sony and Microsoft. And you just wonder, like, what will that hold for Nintendo and all those games?
That's the thing, yeah, because now we're we're off the rhythm of the other two. Like before, we used to be Nintendo, Sony, Xbox used to be on the same schedule, but because Switch 1's life cycle was so much longer, now we're off. We're now like starting in the middle of the PS5, Xbox XS era. So yeah, is it going to be like 3 more years and the Switch 2 already feels dated because you got a PS6? You know, is that the case or no?
One other thing here is I think, you know, there's some assumptions of like, oh yeah, the Switch 2 will be doing 4K and they'll be kind of the last of the party to do 4K. Now, going from the Wii U to the Switch, it was just HD to HD, whereas now you're jumping from HD to 4K. And when Nintendo went from the Wii to the Wii U, SD
to HD.
HD, it was well documented. Like, oh, they kind of had some issues. Like, oh, you need different types of assets. You need, it's a whole other pipeline, a whole other workflow they didn't necessarily have.
Yeah.
So again, on the first party side, it'll be interesting to see, you know, how much are they pushing that? Are they playing it safe? And kind of, you might hear some whispers of like, oh, they're a little bit struggling with this new, you know, style of development where you need more detailed assets and the games are just bigger and bigger.
That was tough for them, SD to HD, especially because they had a home console and a handheld.
Sure.
And the teams were really stretched to understand how to make these games. They're in a better place now in terms of that transition, I think. Like, I'm sure they were thinking about HD to 4K for a long time now, and it definitely, hopefully they have processes and solutions in place to make that happen. But yeah, like the graphics transition is like tough for developers, and Nintendo has never been like a graphics first kind of company either. They're very experienced gameplay mechanic first, so this could be a big challenge for them to like wrap their heads around. So interested to see. Hopefully that's what these teams have been up to these last few years, is getting up to speed on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Next, our only question about an individual game, because it's the only individual game we even know about,
right,
which is what makes the new Mario Kart game different? And I have no doubt that like this is going to be a huge hit for them. But again, at the same time, we know the system's backwards compatible. We got 75, or I guess on the Switch, like 60, high 60 million copies of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that are there. Like, you need to give people like a clear incentive to upgrade.
Yeah.
And kind of a long-term incentive too. Like, I'm sure that, you know, just like the Black Friday bundle with Mario Kart 8 has been this ubiquitous thing. We may not see it this year, but, you know, into the future, they're probably going to take a similar strategy. So you just need to give people a solid and clear reason to upgrade. And we didn't really see, they weren't trying to show us, but we didn't see it in that first little teaser in January.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll show us in this direct, like all of these games that have previous, like, big games that came before them, like, you know, even a 3D Mario game, right? Like, there's been amazing 3D Mario games that have come, Odyssey, that have come before whatever 3D Mario game they might be announcing. Like, they need to show us what makes this one really cool and why you need to play it on a Switch too. So same thing with Mario Kart. I think Mario Kart is a special circumstance for them, is because people have been playing Mario Kart for 10 years.
Right.
People have been buying Mario Kart clearly based on the, you know, nearly 70 million sales for 10 years.
Yeah.
So they need to give people like a clear reason as to like, okay, I'm ready to move over to the next Mario Kart.
Right. And it's really the same reason why Sakurai says for Smash Brothers is like, yeah, I'm kind of out of ideas. Like, we've kind of done everything we can.
It's called Ultimate for a reason.
We kind of pushed this as far as we can. So it's so interesting that he's been very transparent about that. You don't hear those sorts of things about Mario Kart, but I mean, I see a lot of parallels between Smash Ultimate and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where it's just so many tracks, new tracks, classic tracks, wide variety of characters from all of Nintendo. On the flip side of that, this team has had nothing but time to really carefully think about this, plan out. This is not some slapdash, oh, we need to turn this around in a year. Like, they have had potentially more time than most of the teams that are making a Switch 2 game. So the opportunity is definitely there for them, but I do think they need to be a bit more aggressive in proposing something that's new and different.
Right. And really clearly communicate that in this direct.
Yes. Next, what is the level of third-party support. This is something I'm very optimistic about.
I am too.
And again, we'll talk more in our predictions video. But where exactly is it falling? There are historically some partners who have been very eager to jump on new systems, like a Ubisoft. Mm-hmm. There have historically been some partners who, for whatever reason, have been slow to adopt new Nintendo systems, like an EA. So I think I'm going to be looking for just like what's new here? Like, what are some of the new partners? What are some of the new franchises that we didn't get before? For example, a lot of rumors about these Final Fantasy VII remakes coming to the Switch too. That would be a big get.
Right.
Because that's like a huge like game of the year quality game to a new audience that, if you don't have an Xbox or a PC or an Xbox, you haven't been playing those games. So I really want to see who are the newcomers and how does that change kind of the landscape of third-party games? We also have Microsoft for the first time doing a third-party kind of thing. And how, in what significance are they supporting the new system?
Yeah, that's true. Like, there definitely has been Microsoft games on Switch, like a Minecraft. But it feels like this is going to be a bigger thing for Microsoft to do in the Switch 2 generation. Like, they are going to be more open to putting Microsoft games on there. Maybe it's, going to be a bigger play for them strategy-wise. The other thing is, this is a hard one for Nintendo. It's always been hard, is the third-party support that is day and date in terms of new releases. So, like, if there is a new release that's coming out for PC, PS5, Xbox, is it also coming out on Switch 2? That has been a nut that they haven't been able to crack because of their graphical and power limitations on the original Switch. So a lot of times you're getting these games a little bit later, you're getting maybe a different version, you're getting maybe a subpar version. If they can figure out how to be in that playing field with, Microsoft, with PlayStation, and have some of these big third-party titles come out day and date on a Switch 2, I would be super impressed.
That's a good point.
If they can do that. And that's been something they have not been able to do for that entire Switch 1 generation. So while I'm excited for Final Fantasy to come, and Baldur's Gate, and Elden Ring, and Yakuza, whatever else, like, I'm more interested to see, like, when we get future announcement for third-party games, are they coming out on Switch 2 at the same time?
So we've mostly been talking about sort of AAA level third-party games, but I think the other side of that is indies.
Yeah.
And that is kind of an interesting bellwether for, again, the approach of the company, because we've seen so often, like, the company being, like, when you're scrappy, you need to really pursue indies. It's a lot of legwork. It's a lot of, like, oh my gosh, there's so many of them. Like, I need to just, like, throw bodies at this to answer all these emails and send out all these dev kits and stuff. But we've seen some platform holders in the past, once they've hit a level of success, kind of pull back on the throttle of that. I was like, we don't need to do that in the same that we did. We're riding high. We can kind of scale back. So, and that's one of the things that made the Switch great, was like they were really hungrily pursuing, promoting indies. It was an important part of what made that system so popular. It was kind of like in between the big tentpole releases, like, go play some indies and check out what's going on in the indie scene. And there was so much great stuff, and it was fun to discover things. So I'll just be interested to see and hear from indie developers more of, like, what is it like working with Nintendo now on this new system?
Yeah, when we were at Nintendo, and it was very much, both on the third party and indie side, it was very much like, we need to show these developers how easy it is to develop on Switch, and how beneficial to them it will be to partner with us, Nintendo, the platform holder. And that was a big to-do. Like, and our team, on the comms team, like, they gave us, a lot of push to develop initiatives like launching the indie Twitter channel, like social channels, and doing an indie direct, an indie showcase. Like, those are things that were made because they were very part of the third party strategy, was very much like, we need to make people see Nintendo Switch as like an indie machine, not only on the developer side, but on the player side as well. I've honestly seen them pull back a little bit already. on the indie stuff, even in the late stages of the Switch 1 life cycle. I think that they've really like kind of pulled back a tiny bit on this. And I can see them shifting their resources, which are very limited, to bigger, third-party games. So we'll see what happens.
If I'm Johnny third party and I'm picking up a phone, my phone is ringing and it's got 2 calls at the same time.
One is Square
Enix and the other is some up-and-coming indie developer. Who are you going to pick up? It becomes a matter of priorities at that point because there's not unlimited resources for that team to field all of those requests, which is kind of the sad truth of any company, but especially at Nintendo. So I just think that's kind of a really under the next layer kind of interesting subplot to this.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, like the big huge indie games will get their time in the sun. Like Silk Song will get the time in the sun.
We can't talk about
the next, the next Delta,
whatever the next Shovel Knight is.
The next Shovel Knight, Toby Fox's whatever.
Those people will be covered.
They'll be fine.
No problem. But those people have almost ascended beyond indie.
That's what I mean. They don't really need that level of support from Nintendo because they're not waiting for discoverability, which is what a lot of these indie developers are challenged with. And that's what was great about Nintendo Switch is that you had a shot to get discovered.
Yeah.
And if they kind of pull back on that and they only are talking or including the established, quote, indie developers or the transcended indie developers, then you kind of lost the whole point of it, So interesting thing to follow and see what happens. But yeah, it is it's going to be a bit of a different landscape, I think, for indie devs on Switch 2 for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next is one that could be a big deal. Maybe it won't be a big deal. We don't know. The Joy-Con mouse functionality.
Yes.
So they went so far as to tease this in the video, which maybe suggests that it is a big deal. All the leaks have talked about, this is what it is, but we haven't seen it in action. We don't know exactly how it works. This is one of the great mysteries, I think, of the system. And I think this is one of the paths to unlocking question number 1, which is what makes this different from the original Switch. This is something the original Switch couldn't do.
Right.
So this is potentially huge.
Or dumb.
Or nothing. or a silly gimmick.
The spectrum is so wide.
Or this is the new HD Rumble.
Exactly. The spectrum, I love this. I love this so much because the spectrum is so wide. Like, it could be like, you've just changed the way that I play video games forever.
Absolutely.
Nintendo. Oh my God. This is like, the D-pad.
Yeah.
This is the new D-pad. Like, you've changed gaming forever. Or it could be like, this is so dumb. This is me feeling ice cubes.
Yeah, it is.
A thing.
The next great. It's like D-pad, analog stick, motion control, mouse controls. Like it is the next great entry.
Accessible mouse controls.
In the lineage
of Nintendo great
control innovations. Oh
and
my God.
They have a history of this. They've done it before.
I am ready to be the number 1 proponent of this. This is of all these. This is one that I'm definitely the most interested in because your mind just gets you just get excited thinking of all of the possibilities and new types of games that could come over,
schemes.
or the way that older franchises could get kind of updated with this type of control scheme and be even better.
Yeah.
But I still have questions about, how does this work if I'm sitting on a couch? How does this work if I'm on an airplane?
Especially with the promise of, the general concept of a Switch, which is you can play it anywhere. You're not always just sitting at a desk or sitting in your living room where you have access to a surface that can use a mouse. I'm ready to be wowed, though, by this.
The thing that's really good about this is we will pretty soon after this get impressions of people playing this.
That's true.
So, because they're doing...
those hands-on events.
They're doing the hands-on events that will start. People are saying, media is going to be playing it soon. So there's one layer to what they're going to show us, but then we will actually hear impressions from people very soon after.
Yeah.
So that's kind of... we always talk about there's the official information, then there's in the hours to come, all this other stuff that trickles out.
Yeah.
That's something we're going to be keeping a really close eye on.
And the thing with this too is, if it is a very important part of what differentiates Switch 2 from the original Switch, they're going to pull out the stops to show you how. And so I'm expecting a maybe a game or maybe
one of these launch games.
Maybe these launch
would presumably have to really
have a
go heavy on that,
or some sort of like way for me to really, you know, if this is going to be like the motion control to Wii,
right?
The thing that this thing is going to be like,
and it's got to be more than like draw your emblem on your Mario Kart with the mouse. It's like no, it needs to be more central to gameplay.
I'm looking for like a Wii Sports level experience that really gives me all the different, you know, the 35 ways I can use a mouse.
Introducing the clicker genre.
Oh, the clicker
to
genre.
Nintendo Switch. Here
Imagine
it is.
a Diablo game. Oh man, on a Switch.
We already have those.
We could click around those. They got click.
It's kind of better without actually.
Baldur's Gate 2.
Anyways.
The
next one. Very high on people's list. Very high on my personal list. I have a lot invested in this one.
Yeah.
Maybe you've sensed my energy around this one. How does backwards compatibility work?
Yeah.
This is really like there are a lot of things hinging on this. Like what is the fate of Metroid Prime 4? Is there going to be a dedicated Switch 2 version of this, or is it just play it on your Switch 2, or is it also we have a patch that gives it a boost in all these graphical features? All of these paths are on the table, and probably even more paths than that.
Yeah.
It's a really critical thing for not only games to come, of just like the long-term ability for them to sell original Switch games and keep those relevant, to ensure an easy transition from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2 of people carrying over the large library that they have. Secretly very important.
It's not so secretly very important. The thing that's really interesting about this is the layers that it has to this. Like, yes, there is the very straightforward backwards compatibility where like you can just play your original Switch.
Play the thing like you did before.
Yeah, play the original game on this new hardware. It looks exactly the same, it functions exactly the same, but you don't have to carry around two systems. And then there are like so many other layers around that. You know, people have pointed out these patents for the AI upscaling that they've done. You know,
people found this 60 frames mode in Xenoblade Chronicles X that just came out.
There you go. Yes. There's all these like layers to the possibilities around what this means. From the very straightforward, you can play the same game on the new hardware, to wow, all these games get upscaled. You know, that would be so cool. Then you totally play it again. Like you would be buying and playing these original Switch games again. Like that would really.
I legit would go like on a buying spree of older Switch, and I would return to games.
I would return to games
oh, this was shaky. Like, oh my god, we finally fixed Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Imagine that. No, that's going too far. They can't do that.
But yeah, like this can mean so much, and I think most importantly, it is around that conversation around the transition. Like, you know, it is so hard. We talked about this to death already, so we don't need to belabor the point, but to move people that have been playing the same system for 8 years to a new thing is so hard, you know? So this would work though. If they had like some cool way where backwards compatibility meant upscaling, meant, you know, doing something to make the games even more attractive, they've solved the transition problem.
I have an idea around this that I'm going to share in our predictions video.
Okay.
That I'm pretty psyched about.
All right.
Pretty psyched about that.
They can do it.
Next.
They can do it.
What should we expect from the system software? So I think this is something that we maybe won't see a ton of in the Direct. And it might be, again, it'd be one of those things where when people go hands-on and they really dig around and they see things. Because it's a bit... For the general audience, it's maybe going a bit deeper than some of these other topics that we really absolutely desperately need to know about.
Unless it's something big.
Okay.
Like we bring in back Street Pass.
Yes.
Unless it's like something like this is now a lifestyle thing.
Yes.
It tracks your, I don't know, whatever, everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So is it just a continuation of, it's the boring Switch interface.
Boring but functional.
Boring but it works.
Yes, boring but functional.
Or you know, the dream scenario of themes and folders.
And Street Pass.
I mean, I might pass out if we get themes and folders. Pass out from excitement. Whew. Or Street Pass, or something on the level of a Street Pass where we're changing the way that you're interacting and wanting to interact with the system in a way that you haven't done before.
Yeah.
It's a question that's on all of our minds, and I think we've all got at least one or two things that we want to see. I think you put the the new eShop under this category. Anything that's like not a
exactly.
game that's on the system from day one.
People are wondering things like, oh, can I stream Netflix on this?
NSO.
Like, and, you know,
do you count NSO under this? System software?
I guess.
It's
kind of related.
Yeah, so there's kind of a wide range of things that fall under this.
Yeah, how is it going to function as you interact with
But I think everybody's got like one or two pet features that they're like, well, I really want to know about this. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
So that's what makes this interesting.
Yes.
And then finally, the ultimate wild card in all of this.
The photoshopped out C button.
What is the C button? And what does this do?
The C button.
We still don't know. This is something that has still not... I mean, obviously, we know it's got a C on it, but beyond that, this is not leaked. There have not been a ton of... I mean, there were rumors about it, but I think a lot of those kind of fizzled out.
Well, no one,
So...
There's no proof in the pudding, as they say.
The one that we know of...
Capture.
True unknown surprise that's there.
Is it related to the OS? Is it related to the mouse?
Some accessory?
Is it related to connecting an accessory?
Is it something super boring that wasn't worth obsessing over in the first place?
Extremely boring?
Yeah.
Is this where you attach the additional screen to the top, the USB-C port at the top, and then you press that button to make it into a 3DS?
I wanted to put the two USBs on this list, and you said no. That's too. That's stupid. We can't do it. Now you're talking about it. Now I'm mad.
Number 13. Two USB ports. What do they do?
I'm going to charge it in the top and the bottom for twice as fast charging. I'm going to plug all these things into it.
It's going to like overheat. Yeah, I'm very curious about this C button, but I'm ready to be disappointed. I'm ready to be like a letdown by this.
I kind of am too. It's like
I'm ready to be let down.
If between this and the mouse, as long as one of them is cool, I'll be happy. I don't need them both to be like mind blowing.
I need the mouse to be cool
because there's a scenario where they both suck.
If I had to choose, I'd pick the mouse over the C button.
Because you don't know. That could be anything. You don't know what that is. You can't rule that out yet. You need to keep your mind open. Anything. Anything that starts with a C.
But if you had to pick, would you rather...
Anything that starts with a C.
Would you rather have the C button be cool or the mouse be cool if you had to choose?
Again, I need to know a bit more about what this C...
No, don't think about it. Just,
I don't know if they're...
Just choose.
If they're like, oh, it's, if it is that like dual screen accessory, like that's very cool. I probably would go with the mouse.
Okay.
Because I do think there's a lot of cool possibilities
that's what
with
I think
that.
too.
But
yeah,
it's very hard to say.
Camera.
Very hard. No, I don't want. That would be really lame.
You don't want that.
That would be really lame. Camera. We don't need that. It
could be a C button for camera.
We don't need that.
Control.
We already got that.
Yeah. Control.
Wow.
I don't know.
We could go on this list forever, but those are the 12 questions that Nintendo simply must answer.
Well, the answer we won't know. We don't know.
We asked our folks on Patreon this very same question and wanted to see what they wanted to see the most and learn about the most. The point of backwards compatibility was probably the one that came up the most often. Michael Lely says, other than price, which will obviously be announced, I want more details on how backwards compatibility works. Do games just run with the same performance as a Switch 1? Do they have small performance improvements so they run with more consistent frame rate or dynamic resolutions? Will upgrade patches exist for Switch 1 games? Will they be free or paid? Tell me.
Yes. These are great.
These are all the right questions to ask.
These
are the right questions to ask.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind paying a little bit if I had to.
I will save my thoughts for the predictions video.
Oh, I know exactly.
I will save my thoughts.
Okay.
Next, Renana Rex said, I think it's very important that Nintendo address how pre-orders will work specifically on their online stores. Like what many people have been saying, they could address how pre-orders would be open to members of Nintendo Switch Online first and then later for non-members. They could address this similarly to how they announced pre-orders for Alarmo. However, like it has been said on your podcast, I don't think they will address pre-orders for retailers such as Target or Best Buy as it could be completely out of their control.
Yeah.
And finally, Gartooth. See, this is the one thing that Gartooth's got a focus on. Will the current classic game libraries on NSO carry over, or will Nintendo curse the fans to another generation of drip-feeding torture?
What a way
Maybe there'll be new things to drip-feed.
And torture us.
Yes, we're getting the music. We're getting half a soundtrack drip-fed to us on Nintendo Music this week.
25-second NES.
We need to wait for the Kirby half birthday. We're doing half anniversaries now. We're doing a half anniversary, yes.
We're going to the unbirthdays.
We're celebrating Mario's 40th and 40th and a half anniversary.
As they say in Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, unbirthdays.
There's 364 unbirthdays, but only one birthday. Think about that for a second.
My mind is reeling now.
Reeling.
Wow.
Reeling. Wow.
Just think. This time next week,
these questions may
be doing a very different kind of podcast.
May not be answered.
Very different.
we may be complaining, or we may be rejoicing. We'll see.
Yes.
We'll see.
Let's talk about some games we are playing. We have both been checking out Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
Yeah.
Now you said that you on the Wii U finished this game. Is that really true?
I did finish this game on Wii U.
Wow.
Yes. It was my first Xenoblade game I've ever finished.
This was?
Yes, it was.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And what did you think of it then versus now?
I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it. I remember thinking, wow, I really should have been playing more of the series. And this one game made me into like a pretty big Xenoblade fan. But yes, I do remember really loving it. And then going back to it now, I realized why, because the story is really good. Like the premise of the story, even within the first couple hours of the game.
But people say this is a more story-light Xenoblade than the other ones.
I think this is a very story.
Oh, you beg to differ. Okay.
I beg to differ. I mean, 3 was great. The story was good for 3. We played that. 2
half of it was.
Well, I played the whole thing.
Half of it was a good story.
No, all of it was good. Well, the ending was a little.
Half of it was good.
You fell off. It's fine. This one, I really like the story for this one. I don't know why.
I like the premise quite a bit.
The premise of the story is great, and I realized that I've forgotten much of the details.
So what is the premise? Tell people if they don't have this.
Well, Earth is basically caught in a war between 2 super advanced alien species and is destroyed. And spoiler. And then you escape on sort of this like, on this big ship where they have like put humans on there. Like they're like, we gotta get out of here. We see that the end is coming. We're gonna send you guys off just in case. And of course, the end came and Earth basically blew up, which was pretty crazy to see. And then you land on this alien planet called Mira, and you have to sort of like figure things out. Humanity.
Yeah, at the beginning they say like, we've only been here for, was it,
like 2 months?
2 months?
Yeah, we're like just setting up this government.
Right.
It's been
Somehow
2 months.
they've built New Los Angeles in 2 months.
In LA?
Wow, yeah.
New Los Angeles
They've got skyscrapers, they got everything.
I think it was part of their habitat pod
of the ship,
that was in it. I love the look of it. It's like this round pod, and they're like landed on this planet. Yeah. They do such good like sweeping overviews in the beginning of that game to really like get you in the mood of like, oh, I'm on this alien planet, but like, this is very dramatic. It's such a beautiful landscape. It's like a little scary, but also really beautiful. Yeah. They do a really good job of that. Like, there's a lot of those like Vista reveals kind of.
This was the game that made the Vista King.
That's true. This was the game that made the Vista King.
Yes.
But yeah, it's amazing how it still packs a punch. This game. I've not played too far.
Yeah, how far are you in
maybe
this
like
version?
3 hours in, so pretty early still. But I was like, yeah, this is great. Like this game is really, really good. Like it's really fun.
Pretty ahead of its time. If you think back, like we were playing this in 15 or 16. Like wow, like that was a very forward-thinking game.
Yes.
And I mean, the obvious way is like technically, it's like super impressive. Was super impressive on the Wii U and remains super impressive today. And I think I've seen some of the side by sides. Like it does look, I think, noticeably better.
And yet somehow they went down in size. Magical stuff.
Oh yeah, the file size somehow went down.
They're magicians over at Monolith.
I don't know how that works. They've been compressing it for 10 years. I'm a little bit further. I'm maybe like 5.5 hours. I just got through. I think out of the first couple chapters are kind of tutorial.
Very tutorial.
So I think I'm out of that where you kind of come across another sentient alien life form, and you realize they're on this planet with you too, and you kind of infiltrate their base and kind of get a bigger sense of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And now I have kind of more free reign to pick my missions and go around and. Yeah. I've got about
pick your party.
6 to 8 people that I can put into a party. Finally have a party of 4.
No skills yet.
No, you don't get those.
You're
that's
not.
kind of one of the.
That's a little downer.
It would be nice to get those a little bit sooner.
Early,
yeah, especially since flying robots.
She does make you like really like understand like, oh, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
They choose you, you don't choose them.
Right.
Like, this is like it's like it's like one of those things where you kind of get the sense like, okay, I'm not getting one of these right away.
Yeah. I do really like the sense of exploration. The map they can show you broken down as like a grid of hexagons.
Yeah, it's cool.
And some of those, there's like a beacon that you need to activate to kind of show you what the other hexagons have on them.
Right.
Some of them are just like, go retrieve this thing. But for me, like that initially is like the most fun thing to do is like, I want to fill out this map and I want to explore.
Love filling out a map.
There's something addictive about that.
Very addictive about that.
Yeah. So there's something that's really fun about that.
With like the towers, it's kind of like that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a lot to take in at first, which is probably why they space out some of those tutorials.
Right.
Although some of that stuff would be good to have them tell you a little bit earlier also, because he's like, well, I can do this now. Why don't you tell me?
I could have done it on my way to this
about
other
it.
thing. Yeah.
And especially like when you're in the kind of the hub city, like there's a lot going on there, and it could be easy to get kind of off the main path of like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing now? I didn't follow along like all of the stuff that they added or changed, but I think something that's new is now you have these like automatic cooldowns for your attacks.
Right, for the arts.
Any of your special attacks, like they have different sorts of cooldowns, but you have a certain number in a battle of auto cooldowns where you can just press a button and be like, no, it's back.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait to do that again and again, but that's part of the fun of like building out your character. Like there's a lot of subclasses that you can choose, and those give you different abilities and then different passives on top of that. So you can build a pretty customized character. Like some of the classes that they have, I don't know how many people are choosing them, but it's like you're an ambassador to the people of Mira, blah blah blah. It's like, it has nothing to do with fighting or exploring or anything. It's like, how is this useful?
Yeah.
But okay.
I'm a drifter.
You're very charming. Yeah. I chose, believe it or not, I did not choose the class that was most focused on fighting. I chose the more exploration focused one, which I do like. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you think you're going to continue with this game?
Oh, for sure.
To what extent? Yes. Okay.
For sure. Yeah, it's been a little bit hard, I think, for both of us because we had started Assassin's Creed right before this game came out. Yes. And of course got completely sucked into Assassin's Creed. So you and I have been both challenged with like dual wielding both games. But yeah, I love this game. I want to play it again. It is quite a long game though. It's like over 100 hours. So, I need to give myself, I think, make sure I have enough time to.
What if you came back to it in 3 months and you could play it in 60 frames per second on a Switch 2?
Would be happy to. I'd even pay a little extra for it. If
oh my gosh!
$10 more.
Yeah. We do potentially have an early Bodhi candidate in this game. In
Elma.
Elma, don't call her Elmo.
Her name is not Elmo.
She's not Elmo.
And it's also not Alma. Not to be confused with.
Who was saying that?
Monster Hunter Alma.
No.
It's Elma. Elma has very cute apple cheeks.
Okay, good.
She's always like strutting around with those high heel boots too.
Yeah.
Do
you find the menus in this to be a little slow to get around in?
Yeah, very much. Especially the gear menus.
That's one thing that I kind of wish they went a little bit further in overhauling.
World's smallest font too. You're just like squinting at the screen.
It's better, but it is still a little.
Pretty small.
It's still a little small.
I'm playing handheld mostly, so it's a little better. I'm like holding it this close.
You do get a lot of gear in between all your battles. And you kind of want to see, is this something I want to equip? Is this something that I can use now? And it's like many button presses to get into the right menu for your guy or your character to see. It's like, I wish there was kind of a faster way to go.
Like a one button.
About just a little bit quicker. Yeah. It also doesn't feel like super snappy when you're pressing those buttons to get into it. So I think that's the one thing I was like,
yeah, because like
kind of could have pushed that a bit further.
Especially with gear, you're like, I want an easy way to compare.
There's so much of it.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's so much gear. There's the right hand, left hand, you know, whatever. And you want to be able to compare what you had easily to make sure that you're equipping them right. And there's not like some games will give you like, let me help you equip the best weapons.
Oh, sure.
The best set for your character. They don't really have that, which is fine. You can do it yourself, but it is a bit layered and tough to like get to it quickly or see quickly what is better or worse for your character.
Yeah. But like all the Xenoblade games, like a very deep battle system. We're speaking of layers, like that does seem to be kind of what they want you to do is like how can you kind of have all these overlapping abilities and skills and passives that are happening that'll help you do more different things and just like some of the other Xenoblade games, like there is importance of positioning yourself, and it'll tell you like you're hitting it from the front, you're hitting it from the back, you're hitting it from the side.
Yeah.
And you can target different body parts.
And break different body parts.
Right. So if there's some certain attack that is originating from an arm and you break that arm, like they're not going to be able to do that sort of attack anymore.
Right.
So it's pretty deep, and if it's your first time with one of these games, I could see that
being
overwhelming. A little steep. There are some good tutorial videos that I found online, which were, again, telling me about these things before I got the tutorial prompt of like, oh yeah, that's how you do that, or oh yeah, that's how this thing, because sometimes like your party members will call out like, oh, time to do this.
Topple,
and if you, stagger. But if you do, and if you do that type of move, you'll go into that kind of like rhythm gamey thing where you'll get a boost.
Yeah, it's like a QTE kind of thing.
Right. So it's a really fun battle system, though.
Really fun. I really like the battle system in this, and I think it's, while the menus are not snappy, this is very snappy. And it's fast.
It's fast to get in and out of battles. Like you just see the enemy on the battlefield, and you walk up to it. And
target, and then you can just start, it auto shoots.
Yeah, and then you go on your way.
Go around the enemy and do your arts. And, and you can customize those arts, too, and it's fun. Like it's very, very fun.
Yeah, like you said, the other game we're juggling with this is Assassin's Creed Shadows. And last time, when we had the Midnights crew here, we were talking about how we played for, the game had just come out for a little bit, and we had still not really found Yasuke as a playable character, but we have both since found him.
Yes.
It was about 12 hours for me to get him back, which is a long time.
I was starting to lose hope that I'd never see Yasuke again.
It was a fake out. He's not in this game.
I was like, where is he? I loved... No spoilers here, but really like that part of the game where you do get Yasuke back.
Yes.
Wow, what a moment. Like, this game can tell a story like no one's business. It's good stuff. Like, very dramatic. Yeah, there are definitely some great layers to the story of how Yasuke and Naoi are now working together. And now we can switch to, freely between Yasuke and Naoi, which is really interesting. And yeah, we were both like, oh, this is a bit of a learning curve because we had been playing with Naoi for like 12 hours, and she is very, she's very much in the like the very good at the stealth, very nimble, very small, quick. Whereas Yasuke is like this 6 foot tall,
he might be 7 feet tall. He's big.
He's
Shaq, okay?
He's basically Shaq.
You see him in these cutscenes, oh, Yasuke.
And now is like 16 years old, so she's like a little girl, she's a teenager. And you look at them next to each other, you're like,
I will give them credit for making them as different as
night and day,
possible, because a lot of the Assassin's Creed stuff, Yasuke kind of can't do. He can't really climb.
No.
He can't really jump across rooftops.
Oh my gosh, my favorite moment though, as I was experimenting with Yasuke after I finally got him back, I was excited to play as him, is one of the very iconic things in an Assassin's Creed game is getting an eagle point and then doing the leap of faith into a bale of hay or water or whatever. And I was like, can he do this? Because he's pretty big. Is he gonna be all right? Is he gonna break every bone in his body? But I've gotta try it, right? So I jumped him off. I did a leap of faith with him off of Eagle Point. It was the most hysterical thing. He does this flailing off the rooftop and just decimates.
He does make it though.
Pile of hay.
He can do it.
He can do it, but and he kind of gets off and shakes it off and he goes, "That was not ideal."
Yeah.
I love the humor because it's pretty hilarious that you're jumping into a bale of hay in the first place, but that's such an iconic Assassin's Creed thing.
Yeah.
And usually every Assassin's Creed game, every assassin that does it beautifully, swan dives into the hay. But I just love that they, as a way to make Yasuke feel so different than any assassin we've ever played as. He can't even do that move.
No. He has a cool move also where he can just run through doors like the Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah. Pow!
That's very satisfying.
Yeah, I love
but
that.
he's how many enemies you got. Like, I'll just go toe-to-toe with them and just, like, hack and slash
he's in, like,
through them.
Giant,
he's in,
like samurai
armor. Yeah.
Looks so cool.
Right.
And, you know, obviously he has, like, the power weapon. You can give him a katana, but I'd love to give him, like, a club or something.
Oh, I don't have other weapons for him yet.
Not yet, but I think you can, like, eventually.
Yeah,
like, I would love, because I've seen enemies with the big clubs. I was like, I want Yasuke to have that. That would be great for him. My latest move is to basically get, you know, as close to the enemy as possible as Naui.
Yeah.
So I'll, like, play as Naui, like sneak around into the castles, like get into a position where you haven't aggroed them yet, because once you aggro them, you can't switch. So I'll get as close as possible, switch to Yasuke, and then just go in and clean shot.
Why not just assassinate them?
Well, in the missions I'm doing right now, I can't one-shot assassinate them with Naui.
They're more powerful enemies?
It's not like a one-shot assassination. They're a bit higher level than I am. So I'm thinking... might be easier for me to just use.
Interesting.
And usually there's only like 2 or 3 guys around the guy I'm supposed to take out. So easy job for Yasuke. And then he'll just, you know, get rid of them, and then I'll just have him run out and go anonymous in the city. So that's been really fun, actually. I kind of like that move where, yeah, you can do the sneaky stuff with Naui as far as you can, and then you might need some power at the end to take out some of these guys.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out like what is the proper amount of switching to do, because there is a little bit of a load time.
There is.
It's like a 10-second load time when you switch, and you can do it. They let you do it pretty freely. And I think they said you can also do it like in the middle of a fast travel.
Yes.
Like if you're like, I want to come out on the other end of this.
Comes out and says fast travel as Naui or Yasuke.
Right.
Which is cool. Yeah. I like that.
So I don't think I want to be constantly doing it. I think it's like, all right, this little stretch here I'm going to be doing as one or the other, versus like boom, 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 boom. It's not like, you know, ping-ponging back all the time between the two.
Yeah, these missions that I'm on is pretty interesting. It is part of the main story, but to get to the main guy that I need to get rid of, I have to take out this entire family.
Yeah.
Around Kyoto, which is really fun because
we went to Kyoto.
You get to run around Kyoto, and I was like, "Hey, I've been there before."
Yeah.
Like I've seen, you know, you get to go to a Kiyomizu-dera temple, which we've been to many times, and it's pretty fun. Do a little sightseeing. I went to Arashiyama, which is the big bamboo forest in Kyoto.
Cut down all the bamboo.
I did not cut down the bamboo. I was very respectful, but because it was like one, you know, sort of kill after the other. It actually was pretty easy for me to go back and forth between Yasuke and Naui.
Okay.
So I think it definitely depends on the mission. But yeah, I'm finding myself switching a bit more than I had anticipated.
Okay.
At first I was like, I don't know if I can play as Yasuke. He's so hard to play. Like it's harder for him to get around. Like I'm so used to an Assassin's Creed game where I'm just like popping rooftop to rooftop and kind of, you know, getting places really fast, and that's not his forte. So, yeah, I was like a little down on Yasuke at first, but now I see the benefit of using him in certain situations.
By now I was getting pretty strong because I was upgrading mostly her assassination track. So like being able to assassinate more powerful enemies, I was going down that, or being able to do more stealthy.
So I need to do more of those Kiri things to get her. Because right now I'm locked out of the second.
The heck's a Kiri?
I'm locked out of the second level.
Oh, so yes, there's another thing that you need to get to unlock the next level of the skill tree. Yes.
Yeah, the words.
So those are things, I mostly find them when you go to like shrines. It's like, find the 3 things here, find the 3 scrolls here.
Yeah.
And those will give you, I think knowledge is what they call it.
Yeah, knowledge points.
Yeah. It's an interesting system.
It's really interesting.
It's maybe not needed.
It's like too many layers of leveling up.
It's like, just let me pick the next thing on the skill tree.
Yeah, but I understand what they're doing, because when you see the progression of both the enemies and the characters, it does say, like, not only are you on a quest for revenge, obviously, which is, like, the whole point of Assassin's Creed, but also you're, like, in this game, they're like, now he's on a personal, like, on a journey of personal discovery.
Yeah.
And so those are supposed to be those things where you, like, learn about your past and, like, you know, learn about your father and all that stuff. So I see what they're trying to do there and give it a story sort of backing for it.
What did you decide on, what do they call it? Like guided mode or... Because by default, and again, they give you these prompts. It's like, we'd really like you to play this way.
Yeah.
They don't tell you exactly where your objectives are. They want you to do a bit of sleuthing. You have these scouts that you can send in to kind of scope out the area and maybe find things.
Give you like 3 clues. Like, he's north of this.
Exactly.
In this town.
I unfortunately had to turn that off because I was getting lost and not finding these people. And it was like, I don't really need this frustration. Like, I really liked... the usage of the scouts. I seem to not be able to do that anymore. That seems when you turn that off, you don't really use the scouts for that anymore, which is too bad.
Yeah.
Because I kind of would have been like to like, yeah, just look at this part of the map really fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first couple ones, it was like in a relatively big city, and I just like couldn't find the guy who it turns out he was in a house. I was like, I don't want to be doing this all the time.
Yeah, I turned it off too.
You turned it off too.
Yeah, I liked the premise of it. Like,
it's a really cool
like
idea.
An investigation.
Yeah.
And I can see how that could be really interesting. But I agree. I think because some of the clues were like really obscure. It's like, he is in this town. You're like, well, the town is really big.
Exactly. When it's in a setting like that. I just felt like, half my playtime would be like running in circles trying to find these people. So,
exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately turned it off.
Yeah, that's okay though. I think it still gives you enough to explore regardless. Like my play sort of process is like, I usually try to get like all the eagle points in the area that I'm exploring.
Eagle points are harder to get in this game. And perhaps less useful because you can get those other little like hideaway houses.
But they're expensive.
You can buy those.
800.
Right. And the eagle points seem to be often in a highly contested like castle or other like large building.
Now with her
grappling hook?
Grappling hook makes her invincible though.
I got an upgrade to the grappling hook too. I'm grappling really fast now.
She grapples. I mean, she can get there.
I also got I forget what that weapon's called, but it's like the sickle with the chain with the mace.
I have that too, yeah.
That's a really good weapon.
That's a great... I got a legendary one of those in a castle.
That's a great... Because you can use it like a sword, but then also like a whip.
Yeah.
You can do
got
like...
some good length.
Like manage the distance. And it seems really powerful.
She can carry 2
I was like, this is way better than when I had...
The katanas?
Just the katana. And I haven't even tried the little knife, like the dagger.
I have a legendary dagger.
How is that?
It's fun. Close quarters.
Okay.
But now I can throw it as one of my moves.
Okay.
That's been cool.
Yeah.
So you can get yourself a little distance.
Yeah, so it's funny because initially I was like, I want to get Yasuke as fast as I can because I think that play style will suit me. But then like I came to really like connect with playing as Naue and figure it out. And now like I've leveled her up.
She's good.
A bit. I was like, kind of like her.
Yasuke's good too though for certain things.
Yeah.
Like he's
running through doors.
He's very like he doesn't get hurt. Like people are slashing him like left and right. He's like,
and he has more rations by default.
The rations look good. They're like little nigiris.
What is it?
It's like a nigiri.
Okay.
I'm fine. I've been stabbed multiple times.
These down.
But let me just eat this sake nigiri and let me just get my health right back here. Those little hideaways are fun. I like those.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get save up money to get those.
Right.
And the other thing that I like a lot that I didn't expect to like as much is the castle sieges. Not sieges, but the castle.
I like those a lot.
Like I feel like in Valhalla, those got really repetitive.
Do you mean the monastery sieges, or what kind of sieges are you talking about?
Like when you get the legendary chest in the castles or monasteries by taking out those daimyos and stuff.
Yes.
Like the way that they did castle takeovers in Valhalla, I did not really like.
Yeah, I mean Valhalla was just like, it was a very much more action-oriented game in general. Yeah. But I guess I went into this game thinking that those castle or monastery like takeovers were gonna be like more Valhalla-ish. Yeah.
But they're not.
Where you just run in and start hacking people?
Well, the very beginning of the game is exactly that with Yasuke. You run in and start hacking people. And I was like, is this what I'm doing in Japan? Don't think they would like that.
This is what ninjas did. They ran right into people in daylight.
But no, it's very like targeted. I really like that. Like you have to find
it's fun,
the daimyos in each of the areas, or the samurais in each of the areas, and then you get the ability to unlock the big legendary chest, which is like feels like
something cool,
the right reward for you.
Yeah.
So I've been liking them. I'm getting distracted. I've been trying to, stay on the main track and like get through this game. Because I want to see what happens in the story, but I'm like, I could take.
That's part of. I mean, the map is really big.
They're showing off though,
but
how beautiful that game is.
A lot of that stuff, like the levels of those areas is really high. It's like, oh, I dare not step foot in this region.
I'm glad
I would die immediately.
I'm glad Kyoto right now, because I want to be in Kyoto and I want to explore it. It's like my level.
Yeah.
So for now, I'm okay.
Speaking of, I was a little peeved when that Digital Foundry thing came out last week. And it was like, oh my God, the PS5 Pro version is so great. And it's like, oh, well, that's great, but like, the base version looks amazing too. Because people were kind of like clowning on the base version. Like, oh, you need a pro to have this game looking good. It's like,
I think it's beautiful.
You should actually play and look at this game before you say that.
Yeah, don't say that, because that's like not fair. Because a lot of people can't get...
Ridiculous.
A lot of people can't afford a PS5
This game looks amazing.
They're showing off.
Yeah.
Those cutscenes when the seasons change, stop.
Have you seen the Steam Deck footage though?
Is it good?
You need to watch that after. Okay. I could not believe it. Like, how did they do this on a Steam Deck?
Is it coming to Switch too? Do I need to just press pause until July?
We're pressing pause on literally everything.
On my life. I'll just sit still for the next 2 months. I'll just sit and not move or do anything for the next 2 months.
Last game we wanted to talk about is a game that we saw at the Xbox GDC event called Hotel Barcelona.
Oh, you have such a fun story with this game.
Barcelona. Depending on
your pronunciation. You have a fun story, though.
So this is a game by Swery, who did Deadly Premonition. And it sounds like Suda51 is involved. I couldn't tell exactly how he's involved.
But they said they were partnering on this somehow.
I don't think he's like super day-to-day involved like Swery is, but he has some role conceptually with this game, which
I think
is cool.
It's cute that those two are friends, though.
It definitely feels like these guys made a game.
Yeah.
But he was at this event, and I'd never met him, and I had to do it because actually one of the very first games I ever worked on in the industry was for Sammy Studios, a Swery game, one of his first games called Spy Fiction, which was kind of a Metal Gear-esque stealth game. So I went and introduced myself, and I told him that. He's like, oh, Spy Fiction. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, he was like, oh man, he had a little... like kind of like a Ratatouille moment almost, where he like flashed back to his early days.
Yeah, so that was very cute and fun. But this game is really interesting, and so I'll be honest, I don't know exactly all the details of this game because it was an all Japanese team and they didn't really speak much English. So it was like, yes, please play the game, and it was like you're kind of on your own.
And you're also in like a pretty like crowded demo space where you and I always say like it's hard to show a game in those environments.
But it seems like it's a 2D kind of action-oriented roguelike.
Right.
Where you're in this hotel and you're kind of going through a 2D level, and there's different like doors that you can take into different doors through the hotel, which create these branching paths. And different doors, sometimes they'll have like different kind of limited time things that are happening, or different sorts of power-ups that you can get in there. It's got a very kind of like 70s horror movie.
It's a little gross, but not
grindhouse aesthetic, but not like
scary.
No.
Yeah.
Not scary. It's again, it's
kind
definitely
of a cool aesthetic,
more action oriented than that. So like all the action felt super snappy. I had melee weapons, I had ranged weapons. You could totally like change what you're equipping like on a large degree. It just felt like this game had a lot of depth.
Yeah.
That again, I wish I could have properly explained to me because I was going through. I was like, I don't know what any of this stuff does.
There's like boss fights at the ends of levels, and I liked that as you entered into each room, there were also these different challenges, like kill 6 people at once.
Oh yeah, or kill all the enemies with a ranged weapon.
Ranged weapon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was like it was very fast paced, like sort of different challenges and different ways to keep you interested as you went through each of the rooms. You did not do very well.
Again, I barely knew how to play this game.
Maybe because you didn't know what
But I came away, I was like, this game's got a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And I think they said it's coming out this year, and I think they said everything at that event is going to be on Game Pass.
Yes.
So
it looks really cool.
That's one I've got circled.
Yes.
Looks really cool.
And what a fun thing to meet him.
Yeah.
You guys got a cute picture together.
At this event, Claire Obscure, which we wanted to play, but they had literally 2 stations which people were on for basic. I don't think this demo had a timer, so it was like
it was a very odd thing.
These people, I was like, we came back. Oh, it's the same people still playing
like
this demo.
Also,
maybe give them a tap on the shoulder.
It was interesting because that game was like in the back of the room. It was like really hot part of the event space, and we were like,
we had 2.
Can't sit back here
like
anymore.
This is like people are excited for this game. Maybe you have more than 2 when the demo's 3 hours long. Anyways,
we'll play it eventually.
That game's coming out soon.
We'll play it eventually. Yeah.
News.
Last thing, we were pretty impressed with that Xbox event.
They had a good lineup.
They had a really good lineup.
They had a very good lineup.
A lot of really great games. Yeah, I was really impressed with it. So good.
2 mouse games. Count them. What was the one? Cozy.
One is called Winter's Burrow, and one is called Hella.
Yes.
Hella is a game.
Scandinavian.
Very Scandinavian. Very, very cool.
That was by the
style.
team that did Unravel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like a photorealistic art style. Little mouse.
Kind of a little bit like Pikmin, like the art style where it's like all the perspective of you being this little mouse. But the mouse had like a Zelda paraglider thing.
Had a backpack that was like magical or whatever.
And they were saying, oh, you can play this game cooperatively too, have another mouse play. I was like, I'm kind of in on this game.
This game looks very cute.
The other mouse game I was not quite as into, but I think you really were.
I was really into.
You froze to death.
I almost froze to death. It's like a cozy survival game. And I remember
nothing's cozier than surviving.
You know, I've been watching a lot of Little House on the
There's
Prairie
simply nothing
lately,
more cozy than survival.
And there's something about this like pioneer life where you have to like craft everything, which is what this game is. You have to like find things to knit your own sweater so you don't freeze to death. That I really liked it. And it was really funny because in the trailer when they announced the game at their summer event last year, I was already like really into this game.
I'm amazed that you remembered this.
I really remember this. It left an impression on me, but I also remember like a horrifying thing that happened at the end of this trailer.
What?
A bird like attacks this mouse, and it looks like the mouse is gonna die.
Uh-oh.
And when I started playing the demo, I was like, is there something scary?
It looked a little stressful, honestly.
I'm like, is the scary thing gonna happen?
There were a lot of bars that were just very quick, like your hunger, your warmth, your whatever.
I was asking the guy.
Your life essence.
I was like, is something bad gonna happen to me?
Yes, you will die soon.
And then he was like, we took the scary thing out, don't worry. I was like, oh, thank goodness. But yeah, it was like, you need to get inside. Yeah. It's gonna get dark and cold. I'm like, oh no.
You need a winter's burrow.
I had to get in my little tree.
Yes.
Like my little rock.
Looked very nice though. Looked very storybook.
So cute.
Very, very cute.
Very much like my old, like fairy tale books.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Now it's time for the news.
Yes.
This is we got to look at some of these Switch 2 rumors because they're starting to come hot and furious.
Let's do it.
This is one from Insider Gaming saying that the Switch 2 will have a 3-phase launch plan. So I guess this is some scuttlebutt that was overheard at GDC, which is why I was wondering what maybe you heard. Apparently nothing of use. Part one of this is people were saying that the system is going to be coming out in June. Mm-hmm. But also this point about this 3-phase launch strategy, where phase 1 would be primarily first-party games at launch. Phase 2, which would be in October or November, that would be mostly focused on third-party studios. And then finally, phase 3 would be games in the holiday period. Thoughts on this?
It's very logical. I don't know if you need to overhear something to kind of come to these kinds of logical, strategic decisions. I think the June date for launch has been...
Well, that's fine, yes.
...has been talked about pretty regularly.
Yeah.
It's kind of obvious that Nintendo is going to have some kind of, strong first-party support at launch. I don't know. None of this feels like it's like, I wouldn't have believed they would do this.
The details of the 3-pronged or the 3 phases of launch, I'm putting some side eye on those because they make it sound like, oh, there will be only first-party games in this phase, only third-party games in the next phase. The differentiation between October, November, and holiday, that is the holiday, by the way, so let's not say that there's some differentiation.
Q4.
I think that there's a lot maybe being misspoken about in the game of telephone that happened at GDC about this. They absolutely will have a multi-phase plan for the launch, but in terms of this very strong delineation of first and third party games, they're going to have a mix throughout.
But the point is that they might announce a ton of games in that direct, but not all of them are going to be day one Switch 2 games. Nobody's saying that. Not every single game is coming out in June.
Nobody said that.
So if there are games coming in whatever the second phase, whatever you want to call it, and their games coming in the holiday phase, then duh. Right? That's kind of like a no duh.
It says the second stage will arrive in October, November for third-party studios. And then there's a whole other part of this that already got debunked, which says most of which are expecting dev kits to be sent in June.
Oh,
which
dev
is
kits.
Foolish because
I don't think that's the case.
The big ones already have it. So
yeah, I don't think that's the case.
Take this with a grain of salt.
Where did they hear this?
Insider Gaming.
Was it
GDC?
Was it at like 11:30 p.m.?
No, it was the Infinity Nikki panel line.
No.
Were you spreading bad rumors?
I think this was heard at the bar at the W Hotel.
The W bar at like 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m.
as they're flicking the lights.
Yeah, this is the nefarious W bar. You should never go there. It's dangerous.
BizDev guy in a blazer. And True Religion jeans.
That's what I'm giving the side eye to. The people that are at the W bar.
Yeah, there's something about this that did not pass my sniff test, for the most part. Next, this is real. The Seattle Mariners, which is a baseball team, previously owned by Nintendo, will be featuring Nintendo patches on the arms of their jerseys for the upcoming season.
That's a big patch.
For the home games, they're going to be wearing just the red Nintendo logo, and then for the away games, they have a Switch 2 patch, which is even bigger.
It's huge.
It's quite large.
The whole arm of that guy.
Yes.
Whatever his name is.
I saw more people saying, aha, of course the Switch 2 is launching soon, because now they are starting to put it out there. Clearly, May 15th is the answer. I would say to that, the baseball season starts this week.
April.
Every
right?
team sells this kind of sponsorship to sponsor your company on their sleeve. It's not like you're going to add it midway through the season. It's now or never.
I have no words. the reading into it of things, I don't want to talk about it with you guys anymore. Honestly, like it's.
What about with me?
Yes, with you, because you're a logical, smart person. But with everybody else that has read into every little interaction, like I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Do you think this is a good way for them to get the name out there?
Sure.
I think it's kind of
They
neat.
already have an existing relationship with the Mariners, so that's good. It's fun. There's a home team, Seattle home team.
Yeah.
They've done things with the Mariners before. Didn't Mario throw out a first pitch at one point?
The Mario costume threw a first pitch?
I want to say yes.
He can't even hold a ball.
He can hold a ball.
It's like Velcro to his hand or something. As he topples over. Interesting.
I kind of feel like there was a first pitch that was thrown by a Mario costume character.
Very possible.
Yeah.
I think this is good.
Yeah.
Like all the big sport leagues do it. The Golden State Warriors, who we went to go see, they have a Rakuten thing. Some of the companies are more interesting than others. At least they got a fun one.
Yeah. How much does it cost, do you think?
I think it's fairly expensive.
But how much do you think it is? You're a sports person.
I don't know.
Just take a guess.
I don't even want to say.
500 million?
500 million?
50 million.
What? No, it's
10 million.
It's not that much. I mean,
5 million.
They will sell a sponsorship for anything, but this is a permanent thing that's always on the jersey that you're always seeing.
So how much do you think it is?
It's probably
in the millions.
It's probably the low single-digit millions.
Single-digit millions.
Yeah,
1 to 2.
That would be my guess. Under 5 million. That's my guess.
Under 5 million.
Yes.
It's a pretty good deal.
And it's like, well, all these games are on TV. And they get replayed.
There's lots of people
and people
watching
are talking about them. So yeah, I think you could definitely make the case for this.
They have a box, Nintendo, at those games. You could go. Employees can go to them sometimes, which is kind of nice.
I remember sitting through many retellings of the story of here's how we got Ichiro to the Seattle Mariners, and there was somebody at Nintendo who has got to be getting close to retirement age who would regale us with the story of he was on the negotiating team because again Nintendo owned the team.
Yeah,
they literally owned the team, and a few years ago they divested from that. And he's like, here's what we went to visit Ichiro and blah blah blah. It's like this is interesting, but I've also heard this story about 30 times now.
Yeah, they do love to talk about that. The old relationship with the Mariners when we were there was like
it is a really interesting
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they have any regrets about not holding onto that.
Yeah, why did they do that?
All these sports teams are a good investment.
They are
a very good investment.
We were just talking about how some of them made 10x.
They just sold the Boston Celtics for $6 billion.
There you go.
Seattle Mariners are not the Boston Celtics, but still.
They're not bad, are they?
No. It's a pretty big name, big market, yeah.
I remember we did used to when they did own the Mariners, we would have sometimes for Mario Baseball or some sort of sports Mario Sports Mix kind of game where there's a baseball connection. We would sometimes suggest hey, can we do something with the Mariners? Can we do something, with the team to
and they had a thing where
you
could order your food through your DS.
Your DS,
if you were on the network there. That was kind of a neat thing that you could do. Yeah, there were
Yeah.
some cool integrations. So
Yes,
I'm glad to see this carry on.
Yes.
I have been playing the Ken Griffey. Ken Griffey is one of the greats of Seattle Mariners history. The Ken Griffey Nintendo 64 game. It's very good. Very fun.
He was on the Mariners?
He was on the Mariners, yes.
Oh, that name I recognize.
And he's an all-time
that name I don't
legend, yes. That's a very fun game, too. Last and possibly least in our news recap, Sega has released the official Sonic timeline.
Oh.
Which goes into great detail on their website. I spent a little bit of time browsing through it. And I'll just read one entry to give people some flavor. So this is the entry this is under, quote, 10 years ago, which I don't know what that means. And this is referring to Sonic 06. Sonic and Aeris's altered history. Sonic and Aeris go back in time and blow out the Solaris flames, which are the source of the tragedy. The tragedy.
What's the tragedy?
This means that the Solaris experiment never failed, the world is saved from crisis, and the devastated future becomes a peaceful world. However, this series of events also never happened in history.
Huh?
Makes perfect sense. Thank goodness we got this deep insight.
Can the Sonic timeline team work on the Zelda timeline?
At least they have somebody. That was a big deal when they hired like a lore lead.
Yeah.
This is probably the major project that person has
kind of fun.
So on one hand, I give them a lot of credit for going to the effort to actually, pin down all these details and get it in this kind of somewhat coherent way. On the other hand, this is complete gibberish. I'm sorry.
At least they tried.
Yeah. So here's the different historical markers. Prehistory, tens of thousands of years ago, tens of thousands to thousands of years, question mark, thousands of years ago, 2,000 years ago, 50 years ago, 10 years ago, classic Sonic era, modern Sonic era, and 200 years later.
Okay, so there's sort of a before and after the modern.
Does Sonic really need this level of detail in a story capacity? This is not like Final Fantasy, this is not...
I don't know. I would say no.
Maybe I'm just the only person who's kind of out on this level of lore for games that don't really need it.
Well, Zelda does. Fire Emblem, Zelda, Xenoblade.
Fire Emblem.
What kind of games need the lore? And what kind of games?
Games with
Mario
I would
does
never,
not.
Games with
Mario doesn't.
If they came out with a Mario timeline, that would be a dark day for me.
Well, they have a movie
because I really don't
gives you a little lore.
I don't need that much more.
Prehistory is like Yoshi.
I don't need tens of thousands of years ago for Mario.
Or 200 years later.
No, I don't want that. I don't want something. Not everything needs this level of detail.
But yeah, I would agree that Mario would not need this level, this timeline. But Zelda does.
It's like again, I am not the target for this in any sense of it. But it's I don't know. These are breezy platforming games.
I mean, if you want to attach a story to it, why
anyway,
not?
this is I don't know. This is some Kingdom Hearts level. It's also this never happened.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I don't understand what that means.
This is where it's you can't do that thing. You can't cop out and be like, but if we went back in time, this is what this is doing. We went back in time and altered it. Now it changes
time travel and splitting
the
timelines.
time.
These are all things that I'm just inherently not interested in.
Tropes to rewrite your story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you have a really good reason to do it, I suppose. Anyhow.
People are getting mad, so let's move on.
Yes, anyhow.
Are you getting mad?
No.
Oh. What are your thoughts? You're always so hesitant to say anything about Sonic, and I'm so curious how you really feel.
I don't think Sonic needs a timeline. The games are like Mario games where it's you don't really need this level of detail. But the games don't bother me. They're neither here nor there.
There we go.
I don't feel... I play them...
Pick a side.
No, I play them, and they're
You play them?
Fun enough.
You play them. That's news.
I try them.
I try them.
And they're fun enough.
Which one did you try?
I do own that the classic whatever Sonic Colors or whatever it's called.
That's from 15 years ago.
No, what was the one that came out on Switch? That little collection of redone.
Well, those are of old games.
Yeah, I played that.
Have you played a modern Sonic release that came out within the last 15 years?
I played that 3D Sonic game with you.
We played that for an hour on a stream.
Yeah, I played that.
Okay. I think I've got my answer.
What's the answer?
Let's hear some questions from our community. We get them all from Patreon. Start with Brovac Novak. Hey, Kit and Krysta, first have to tell you how much joy you bring me each week. I've been having some tough times at work, and y'all are wonderful respite to the doldrums. So I have finished the first hour of your Split Fiction playthrough and started part 2. The game looks awesome and I'm ready to dive in. I'm curious, let's say Take-Two approached Nintendo to collaborate for their next game. What would your wish be for a co-op dream team to play through a team-up adventure? Let's face it, Brothership wasn't what we deserved. Yes, I know it's not co-op, but think of how that game could have improved with it. Mine would be Link and Zelda. Excited to hear yours. Edit to add, would Nintendo ever go for this?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I have been holding on to this question for the right time.
You have?
I'm very excited by this question.
You are?
Because this is I think something like this could actually happen.
You think it's me, Mario, and Donkey Kong?
No, it's like, hey, Hazelight, we want you to make an exclusive game
for Switch 2.
For the Switch 2, and you have access to RAP.
Switch 2
players. And they turn that maniac loose.
2.
They turn that crazy mind of his loose.
Great. Let me see it. What you got?
So first of all, the last question. Do you see some scenario where this could actually happen?
100% yes.
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 They're
into this.
I got so excited when I read this question. I was like, oh, this
it's called a Switch 2.
This should absolutely happen. Oh my gosh. Write the check.
Write the check.
Write the check, Nintendo.
It doesn't even have to be a big check. I think he'd just do it. I think he would do it because he's nuts and he would want to.
It would be incredible.
Yes. And Nintendo loves this kind of game.
Right.
This kind of like couch
co-op.
Co-op.
Couch co-op, bringing people together.
That is their favorite genre. Like, honestly, that is Nintendo's favorite genre of game, is like anything that's very like kind of campy, you know, very lighthearted, tight, really good gameplay, brings people together. Like they're writing the commercial already in their head of like the brother and sister like playing the game together, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be amazing.
So go ahead.
A game that would have a dream co-op.
A series that would work well for this.
Yeah, yeah.
The Link and Zelda option I think is great.
That's amazing.
Well, you know what I liked
with the echoes.
Yes, what I liked about Split Fiction was at different times, different characters have different abilities.
That's right.
So it's not like,
you're just doing the same thing.
It's not just the character on the left and the character on the right are the same.
That's why I think the Mario and Donkey Kong is such an interesting premise.
That could be really fun.
Because then you have like, it's kind of like Naui and Yasuke, where Donkey Kong is like powerful. He can like blast through a wall
versus
or like
more acrobatic.
And then Mario has the acrobatics, or like maybe they both can get power ups, so use in different ways.
They do well with the platforming is very fun in these games.
Platforming is really fun. 3D platforming is done really well.
I want to keep throwing out ideas for my beloved Star Fox, which is a Star Fox game could be a lot of fun.
4-player co-op.
We could keep it at 2.
2-player co-op.
It's like, oh, well now you're...
What about the other players?
Pick 2.
Peppy?
4 are available, but you pick 2. How about that? And then General Pepper isn't unlockable. Think about that.
Slippy?
You're flying around, then you're on foot, and then you're shooting something. Now you're in a tank, and now we're back in the space. We're shooting. It's like, because that's what this is. It's like boom, boom, boom. You're changing what you're doing.
Are we flying into the atmosphere?
Yes.
Are we customizing our spaceships?
It's obviously not. It's a bit more of like a guided experience than what I was thinking for next Star Fox, but I think that could work too. That could be a fun thing to do too.
I like that.
So many of these Nintendo franchises you could do this with.
I like that a lot.
Write the check now.
Isabelle and Tom Nook.
We maybe don't need that.
In a 3D adventure through Animal Crossing.
We maybe have gone too far now.
How fun would that be? Crotchety Tom Nook and like really cute, happy Isabelle on a buddy comedy adventure together.
Brovac Novak, you made my day with that question, so thank you. Next, Manjock. Hello, we're less than 2 weeks at the time of posting. Now we're around 1 week before the Switch 2 Direct. Would the people working the booths at the Switch 2 Experience events have already played the games they are planning to show?
Let's see.
No.
No. The people working the booth, no.
No.
But the people at Nintendo, yes.
Yes. The people working the booth are mostly hired staff.
They'll probably get trained like
it's going to be a marathon training session, like immediately after the Direct airs, where it's like, all right, you're here, we're watching the Direct at 7 a.m. Then, now the people are here, you're going to go hands-on, and we're going to go through your talking points and tell you everything that you need to know because the thing starts in like 24 hours.
Yes.
That's how it has to be.
Intensive.
Because if there was ever something to pull out the stops for security's sake, this is it.
Yeah.
Nobody outside of a very precious few who absolutely need to know for that moment are going to know the details of this.
Yeah, but those people would have gone hands-on and seen the games.
They will.
And played the games, because they're going to have to be the ones training.
Right, but not the people actually standing at a station at these events.
No. Yeah, it's going to be like 4 people from the treehouse.
There will be a whole other breakneck set of things that happen after the direct airs and all that information is published.
That's why it's at 7 a.m.
Get ready for your 18-hour day.
Oh, man. That's exciting. It's exciting
It is, yes. Joshy Josh asks, when thinking about Switch 2, is there anything you particularly miss about working on console launches? Is it the pop-up events around the US where people get to try out the new system, the media interviews with Nintendo leadership that you have to prep them for, getting prepared for a huge Nintendo Direct that you know will make so many fans happy? I'd love to know, is there anything that you don't miss?
I don't want to do any of that, honestly. Not to be like a damper on your question, Joshy Josh, but I'm so happy to never do a pop-up event again, to never prep anybody for a media interview, to never get prepared for a Nintendo Direct. I don't care how happy it makes them, the fans. It's awful. It's an awful process. Yeah, I don't miss any of it. I think the only thing is that I do miss is that when I was working there, I was guaranteed to get one of these at launch. So I'm going to be a little stressed out during the pre-orders because I don't have a guaranteed, system anymore. I guess maybe playing it a little bit early was cool too, but also not because it's scary. Because then, what if someone sees you or whatever, or what if you accidentally do something bad and then you get fired. So
what if you do something bad
and then you get fired?
I mean, that could be any day.
I'm not firing myself.
You just lied about playing Sonic games.
I didn't lie.
That's about as bad as it gets.
I didn't lie. I played the Sonic games.
We're gonna keep coming back to this subject. Maybe you need a Sonic.
Don't take the heat off you to put on me.
There's no heat on me. Maybe you need a Sonic week. Where's Katie?
I'm gonna put the Tails costume right back on right now.
Where is Katie?
Yeah, but I really don't miss it at all. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'm so happy to not be there.
I'll have more of a feel-good answer for you. There is definitely a sense of teamwork that happens when there's something like this, and it's oh my gosh, we're coming together, we're doing this impossible thing.
Fine.
There's a great sense of achievement when it all goes well.
Yes.
And it's oh, it was all, we had this goal.
It was worth it.
We've been working for months. We actually did it. That is a fun thing, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it blows up in your face, and that's definitely not fun. But it's oh, okay, there was some goal that was achieved for this. Great.
Okay.
What do you have to say to that?
Nothing. I'm just listening intently with politeness.
All right.
Active listening is being practiced right now.
Okay. I mean, some people want to wake up at 4 a.m. and dunk their face in an ice bath, and other people have higher aspirations. Gonna go run around a parking lot for a few hours.
You have been watching a lot of the wake up videos, the men wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning videos. I don't know why.
I'm considering changing my entire life to do this.
I support you.
Look forward to me emailing you at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Have you thought of this?
I'm so happy to be a fan, you guys. I don't need this stress in my life. The only stress that I'm not looking forward to is pre-ordering. That's the only stress that I didn't have when I was at Nintendo. That was the only stress that I'm trading for.
We got the Kaggers next. Hello, Kit and Krysta. On a recent episode of Nintendo Voice Chat, that's the IGN podcast.
Yes.
One of the panelists made a comment about how Nintendo employees did not have laptops to work from home when the pandemic first started back in 2020. Is this or any part of this true? Were some employees stuck doing nothing until they could get laptops to be able to work from home? I wish I could listen to the original clip of this because I wonder if there's maybe more detail around this. Because we definitely have laptops.
Yes. I did recall there were some, there was a bit of a learning / resources curve with the development team.
Yes, and I wonder if that's maybe what this is referring to, developers.
Maybe. The development team, they were doing all of their work, obviously, in the office.
Right.
And a lot of them lived in very, small houses.
And you might need something more powerful. Than a dinky Dell laptop.
Correct.
Yeah.
I feel like that's maybe what this is referring to. And then they work to get those people, their setups at home up to speed and all that stuff.
But there was a lot
of a learning curve
concern of there's other people in your home. How are you're working on a game that's unannounced.
Oh my gosh, your son walks in the door.
You need a trap door so that your 3-year-old son can fall to his fate.
Oh
versus seeing the game and talking about it at school. We can't have that.
Oh, talking about it
there
at
were a lot of
school.
stories about that. Of
Yeah,
like, you know,
my.
yeah, it needs to be completely lockdown level secure.
Yeah.
But they eventually did.
They
make
figured
that.
it out though, yeah.
So yeah, I don't think they were necessarily as quick to jump on the work from home train as some other studios, which had maybe already started to go down that path.
Yeah, or had like setups that
Yeah.
were a little bit easier.
But they got there. It is
Yeah.
interesting to look back at games that came out in that. It's like how much of this game was done at home.
It's like TV shows too.
Like
a lot of TV
like take
shows that were
take
filmed.
Tears of the Kingdom. It came out in 2023. Obviously had time before and after when they came back, but it's like there was a chunk of this game that was made from somebody's house, which is always like a fascinating thing, or like a movie. Like a,
I had to
like a Pixar movie or something.
I had to edit this movie from home.
Right,
Or like whatever.
right.
Like, you know, I'm sure that happened. Yeah.
It's very interesting. I will say though, there were a lot of people that were still going into the office. Like we would sometimes have video conferences, and they had like, you know, a plexiglass barrier.
And they're wearing masks and stuff.
But it was like we're in the same conference room and we're still here, and I think it was this like badge of honor if you were high up of like, no, I'm still coming in.
I'm risking my life.
Yes.
I'm gonna throw my human body
My corporeal form matters not.
riddled with
Yes.
disease
What matters not is launching jump rope challenge.
onto this Switch 2 unit. I'm
Yes.
throwing my body.
Yes.
Yeah, there were some people in the NOA offices that didn't. I mean, there was definitely teams. Our team had laptops like pretty like you know, that was our computer, like was our laptop because we traveled so much for our job. But there were other teams that did not have laptops that they had to like get them. But it wasn't like there was like, you know, huge percentages of people just twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah. The thing that was an
They had
amazing
computers.
coincidence was very shortly, like maybe like within a month before we started working from home.
Oh, the video conference.
The company did change a lot of its IT stuff, and it was like, okay, we're using Zoom, we're using Microsoft Teams.
That was amazing.
So it was like, what if we didn't have any of that available? Like, they would have to get on it real fast, obviously, but at least we had a bit of like, okay, we have this, we know what this is. People, like the whole company is getting more familiar using this.
That was mere months before.
It was really
like
close.
1 or 2 months before.
It was amazing, yeah.
And I remember it had nothing to do with the pandemic.
No.
It was very much like, oh, we need to modernize some of this stuff. And we had like pretty janky like video game conferencing solutions in the office, which was ironic because we were meeting so much with global teams.
Right.
And some of them never worked. And we were like, oh, great, we're going to get on Zoom. Now we have a way to like, you know, basically people were like, oh, a lot of companies use like Slack or Teams to chat. Like we should have that. And we, like, you know, Nintendo never had that before. And we added Teams. I remember that was like a big deal. We're like, we're modern. And then the pandemic happened. So yeah, amazing how the coincidence, it worked out.
Yeah.
It would have been bad if we didn't have any.
There were some other technological advancements that were resisted more by others, but that's another story. Lucafied asks, big fan of the podcast and recently subscribed to your Patreon so I could listen to Krysta's brothership rant once I finished the game myself.
It's there. You can listen.
I have been playing Fortnite a lot in the past year, and it's a shame that there's no Nintendo representation in the game, especially considering the leaked information about Samus almost being a skin. My question for you guys, what's your opinion on Nintendo's decision to let Samus be in Fortnite on the basis that she would only be visible on the Switch? Do you think we'll ever see Nintendo representation in the game, particularly as we move into a new era for the company, maybe as a cross-promotion with Metroid Prime 4? Just seems like the game is getting bigger and bigger, and it's a missed opportunity. I've been feeling like I should get back into Fortnite. I think it's time. It's been a little while.
We try to do a Fortnite.
You love your V-Bucks.
I do love I'm scared. I'm scared to get re-sucked into V-Bucks. We did try to do like a Fortnite meetup, but it was a little bit tough to.
They have their own rules about doing like custom stuff
rooms.
where it's like I had to mail in like a crazy amount of information to them.
But I think we did get it though.
No, we didn't. Even then, it still didn't work the way we wanted.
Okay, that's tough.
We've talked about this a little bit. This is one of the more controversial things that we shared. Like people, like clearly there's an appetite for Nintendo IP in Fortnite. And I continue to be amazed at the degree of IP that they get in. And I think for me, the bar that Fortnite would need to pass are these characters ever going to be more directly represented versus just cosmetics versus skins. Because the moment Samus picks up an AK-47 and starts down in slurp juice, we've kind of lost
the essence of
the essence of what Samus is.
Right.
You know? So I think if there's ever, and I know sometimes they have like limited time events where like they will let characters do this, but it's not like a full-time thing. It's always like these are cosmetics, and in the end, all the characters pretty much play the same.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to a gameplay thing.
Right.
If they can integrate a Samus into Fortnite where she does only Samus things, like turn into a morph ball and use an arm cannon, never uses any of the other weapons.
Because I do think it's a little, like all the IP, like, Goku's doing 360 no-scopes. It's like, it's kind of, like, on one hand, it's like, it's goofy fun that it's there, but on the other hand, like, I'm surprised that IP holder did that.
I would want them
especially if, like, knowing, like, having worked a little bit at Namco with some of these anime companies, like, they're very
strict, right?
Very strict.
Yeah.
So I think
it's called show me the money.
Those are interesting decisions, and maybe that's what it is. And I don't know if Fortnite will ever get to that point. That feels like just an impossible amount of work to make.
Like a custom thing.
How do you make Peter Griffin a unique playable character in Fortnite? It's like the Smash Brothers problem times 1,000.
Right. Sabrina Carpenter's in Fortnite now. That's the latest one.
I'm back in. Great.
Ariana Grande was in it too.
Sign me up. Oh, sign me up. So, yeah, I think for them, that's kind of the lens that they're looking at it through. It's like, is this actually helping people be fans of our characters in the way that they're going to be depicted in our games?
Stuff,
or is it just like another like meme-worthy, Samus is flossing again?
Yeah,
you know?
Do they still floss?
doing whatever dance that they do in Fortnite. So
yeah, I do wonder. I mean, Fortnite doesn't need this because they're Fortnite.
There's plenty of other IP out there.
Huge.
Yeah.
But like I kind of think back to when we got like Mario and Rabbids.
Yeah.
Where it is like a custom built from the ground up experience featuring two IPs, but in like a different way. So maybe in the future there is some kind of partnership with like Nintendo times Fortnite, but it's very like it's a different game.
What if it's a limited time event where it's like, okay, only for this period of time in this mode, and we do have Samus and she's doing the morph ball and she's doing the arm cannon and she's doing Samus stuff.
Right.
And it's like, and she's not going to be part of just,
that's what I'm saying.
Day-to-day Fortnite games.
That could be a possibility.
That could be a possibility. I think
but it would have to be like a very like customized, instead of it just being like I'm going to drop this character into Fortnite and let that character do whatever Fortnite things they want. It's more so like let's build up something that's Nintendo times Fortnite from the ground up, and it's like a different game.
Yeah. The point here about only being in the Switch version, I wonder how that would work. I'm not sure how that would work.
Yeah.
Tuscube has our last question. This year is going to be Splatoon's 10th anniversary in May. Do you foresee Nintendo highlighting, celebrating, or even acknowledging this at all? It is arguably their most successful new mainstay franchise. What do you foresee in the immediate future for the burgeoning Splatoon brand? A spin-off, a radical shake-up, or another iterative sequel like Splatoon 3? Thank you for your thoughts and insight.
There's going to be some Splatoon something on that Switch too. So I'm sure if they're celebrating an anniversary or acknowledging
this year?
Oh, this year might be tough for them to do it.
They had Splatoon 2, first year of the Switch.
They did, yeah, they did. But
Splatoon 3 now is a bit longer in the tooth than you might think.
How many years old is Splatoon 3?
A couple years, 2-3 years.
Maybe.
Yeah, it might be time.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
I definitely think they will acknowledge it at a minimum. That team is so good at just like...
They like art.
Yeah, there's always some guy. There's always somebody in the back drawing a piece of art for something.
Yeah, for something.
They just did something for the Animal Crossing 5th anniversary.
I saw that.
I saw.
Really
so
cute.
yeah, I think they will. Whether will they have a game or not? They don't tie these to anniversaries.
Right.
It's like it's a convenient thing when they do. It's nice if they do. I'm very open to all of these different spin-offs or new takes. Last week when we did the Switch to draft with MinMax, I drafted Splatoon 4 in the first round, but a game that I had on my list that I wanted to put out there as a new IP was a Splatoon MOBA. Like I think that
cool.
there's so many different genres that you could apply Splatoon 2, like a Splatoon role-playing game.
Yeah.
Would be super interesting.
Splatoon role-playing game would be very
Splatoon, like, turn-based strategy game. I would be
really
like a Fire Emblem style. Like,
yeah.
I'm in on all of that.
Splatoon card game would be fun. Card-based game would be really cool. I would like that. Some sort of co-op.
And that's been our point with Splatoon, like, from Splatoon 3 onward. It's like, this series is too new for you to say, this is all this is. There's so many other things for you to explore and experiment.
Base Splatoon is still really fun, though, I will say. Whenever I play that with people in our community, I really, like, get reminded again and again, like, this base gameplay mechanic is really fun.
Yes.
It's really fun. So they got something there for sure. I don't think they need to throw, what do they say? Throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Splatoon timeline. I'm open to that, actually. I'm open to a Splatoon timeline.
That could be interesting.
Believe it or not.
The primordial...
I will accept that.
The primordial ooze in which these squids and
kids... As long as they don't say that the
history
is not actually the history or something nonsense like that.
Blow out that flame.
Don't say that.
The eternal Splatoon flame. Rewrite Splatoon history.
Splatoon lore goes back. We know that.
The lore is kind of interesting for Splatoon, honestly.
I do find it kind of interesting. Yeah. All right. Thank you to everybody who sent in a question. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/KitandKrysta, where for just a few dollars a month, you can get early access to this podcast, amazing exclusive content like bonus Q&As, spoiler cast, gameplay videos. We just did Mischief Makers. That's out now. And join our wonderful community on Discord, too.
Such an exciting time to be part of...
There's electricity in the air.
Yeah, to be part of a Nintendo community right now, and everyone's just, like, wrapped up in the excitement of all of this new Switch 2 stuff. So it's been great to be part of that.
That's right.
Follow us on social. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Blue Sky, and Threads.
If you are watching this on YouTube, you can go ahead and subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave us a comment for us to check out. And if you're listening on audio, you can also subscribe, give the podcast a 5-star rating. And if you got the time, leave us a written review as well. Thank you.
All right, let's wrap it up by shouting out our wonderful Patreon community, and starting with Final Boss Aaron Hash.
Aaron Hash. Exciting times for Aaron Hash as well.
Yes, very exciting times, especially if that new Mario Kart game comes out. Superstars. Ben Eichhorn,
Mara Mayhem,
Eigenverse,
Kiss My Flapjack,
Mike Chin,
Roy Eschke,
Switching It Up _
VGM Life,
Link, the hero of wins,
Angela Bycroft,
Thomas O'Rourke,
Cal LaBeouf,
Roberto Nieves,
Frederick Ulf Conradson,
Andrew Uhas,
Chili,
Simon,
Crashuri,
Master Discord,
Ash,
Ajay Kunlas,
40 Gig,
Travis Torline,
Echo Ladare,
That's So Linnell,
and MSN Poke Gamer.
Woohoo! And the One Up Club, Aaron Burgundy,
Ale Alejandro,
Andy Peachy,
Andy Robinson,
Angel Aid,
Aristu,
Astrodev,
Awesome 46,
Axel,
Barnstorm,
Bates,
Benji B,
Big and Gamer with a Y,
Brandon Kavapel,
Brent Dennison,
Brovac Novak,
Bruce Dash,
Bucky Flores,
Cameron,
Shadir,
Shelly Squirrel,
Crispy Saurus,
Chris Galvin,
Christopher Lay,
Cosmic Tyson 718,
Captain Alex,
C Roper 17,
Doug DeLeo,
Dallas E,
Daniel Phillips,
Dachshund,
Debbie P,
Doinko,
Dre,
Doodad Life, Trilek,
Eccentric Tony,
Elite Peach,
Espars 50,
Furbound,
Fernie and Jess Forever,
Fox Deploy,
Funky Han,
Gamers Like Anime,
Garth the Wolf,
Gartooth,
Gin Wolf,
Guilty Phoenix 42,
Handheld Gamer,
Happy Sloth,
I May Have Made a Mistake,
Iris Marin,
Javrando,
Jack Hoving,
Jameson Eisenberg,
Joe Encarnacion,
Jonathan Rowe,
Jordan Hemmerly,
Joshua Clements,
Juju Fruit,
Justin Lemminger,
Jay Wolf,
Callan CPU 57,
Kawa 2796,
Keith Kwan,
Kevin Delane,
Kilo Kibo,
Krista Roddy Kid,
Christopia Party With Me,
Kyle Gamer Berry Rookie,
Kyle 325,
Kyle Kretzer,
Kyle R. Smith,
Lazy Cat for Coffee,
Leviahu,
Lex,
Lightwood,
Link 9898,
Lil Mikey,
Linko,
Light Latte,
Lit,
Lucas Pico,
Luigi 53,
Luna B,
Lynn,
Macho Potato,
Mad Dog 5981,
Magnificent Easy G plus Callie Marie,
Mario Man 392,
Mark S,
Marky Man 64,
Maverick Nate,
Mecha Dragon 101,
Megan,
May plus Leon,
Michael Mazer,
Michael Wong,
Mikey,
Mr. Ryan 07,
Motomania,
Mr. Andy Palm,
Mr. Beans and Dip,
My Tran,
Nami,
Nasir,
Naif E,
Ninja 11,
Noah San,
Pangy,
Paper Boat,
Patrice Millette,
Paul,
Paul Gill Network,
PokeDigiFan 20,
Prime Factor,
Prince Charmless,
Punky,
Rain Tech,
R. Burns,
Record Rumble,
Rob M,
Rob O,
Romsky 113,
Rocks,
Ryan Hayes, 521.
Ryan Haas.
Ryan Etta.
Sebastiano Garase.
Sharif Jackson.
Shinryu.
Schmagels.
Slowbro.
Schnazzle.
Spacey Poo.
Spicy Munchkin.
Starman DX.
Steel Strone.
Pseudo Priest.
Tales of Link.
Tandem.
Tay121 N64.
Teal Fox 64.
The Kagers.
The Quiet One.
The Shark Among Men.
Thomas Alvarez.
Three Rivers.
Torcheeks.
Totally Joe Ed.
Totemaru.
Trajowie.
Trev Tendo 88.
Tugs Puppyware.
Tuskoob.
Tyler Geis.
Uncle Jungle.
Victor MK.
Video Game Stupid.
Vigmictor.
Viridian.
VirtualBot.
WG Grizzy.
Wayu.
Wicked Davy.
Zelgaroth.
Zapati.
Zero Link.
And Zroid.
Whew.
We had some people joining with names that start with A, and I always wonder, is Aaron Burgundy going to be unseated as the first person?
It has to be A bomb Burgundy.
I don't think you can, though, because it's literally A space Ron.
So it have to be A space B.
Unless it's like period something.
Well, don't give him any
period
ideas.
A. Don't do that.
Aaron Burgundy is a king among men.
We've met him personally.
King
Wonderful.
among men.
Yes, truly.
Yes. Wow, what an episode.
Big episode.
Just
big things ahead.
A few days away from the big Switch 2 Direct, so we will be looking forward. We got our checklist of questions. Hopefully Nintendo's checking off those boxes, answering our questions, and hopefully we come away this time next week with more excitement than ever for Switch 2. All right, we're going to wrap it up, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye!